The man played a game for 999 consecutive days. However, just as he was about to finish, he received a mysterious call. His life changed from that moment. When he got up again, he found himself in the game world. Before this, the man was a retired Special Forces soldier. Tired of the dull city life. A game called Sin became his only focus. So he played it for several months straight. Just as he was about to clear the level, he received a mysterious call. The caller knew the man's actions like the back of his hand. Frightened, he hurriedly turned off the game. When he opened his eyes again, he had become a character in the game. Andreas Cromwell, an orphan from a fallen family. The worst third-rate student in the academy. A character forever shrouded in the shadow of death. However, all the characters are doing the same thing, which is eliminating monsters and forbidden mages. They discovered that Sharon was actually a necromancer. And then they strangled him. As his adopted disciple, I was no exception. Before the story begins, I must escape Karen's control. And the sight of the main characters. The scene shifts to Rodden Academy. The Empire's most prestigious academy for nurturing talent. Those deemed promising come here to study. And it is in such an academy that the necromancer Sharon hides. Today, the man seems particularly unfamiliar with this place. At this moment, he doesn't even know where he put last week's creature. This arouses Karen's suspicion, but there's no time to ponder as an experiment is still ongoing. He then instructs the man to continue inscribing the magic circle, because their experiment requires the support of a magic circle. Accompanied by Karen's silent chanting, a blue light appeared immediately. The corpse also floated into the air. But after a moment, nothing happened. Damn, it failed again. Looks like I didn't learn anything today either. And next comes my cleaning work, although it's dangerous to do so. But I didn't seem to benefit much from it. The only advantage was being able to read books about dark magic. When I completed tasks and came to ask questions, he didn't answer. Instead, he blamed me for being too slow. In his eyes, I was nothing but a useless person. If I became of no use, then I would be the next experiment subject. Even though I complete all the tasks every day, I never receive any reward. When I walk out of my room, everyone is always shocked. Because I am someone who hasn't awakened any abilities. Logically, I should have been sent back to the academy. That's why I stayed as Karen's assistant. But can I really clear the game? However, I have no choice but to become stronger before the story begins. And next comes the time for me to get 2 special attributes. If that's the case, I can use both magic and swordsmanship. But I doubt whether I can use just one of them. Since this character has 2 traits, and one is random, it leaves me the chance to choose the other. But I have no choice but to pick one that goes with the necromancer. Then I pull up the attribute panel. All the in-game attributes are here. I was looking for something that pairs best with a necromancer. But then I found an attribute that doesn't exist in the game. That is evolution, the ability for creatures to constantly evolve. If the undead I summoned could keep evolving, that would be a pretty good choice. So, this is the one. And next, what kind of future will this trait bring me? Can I survive as Andreas? A man exchanges a $1 billion ring for a piece of wood. Not for retirement, but for the legal document inside. Before this, the man was a Special Forces soldier. But after finding himself in a game world, he had to accept reality and live as Andreas. However, besides Sharon, there are countless other characters who could kill me. This basement is no exception. After observing yesterday, I confirmed that a vampire is imprisoned here. And in this game, vampires are not affected by direct sunlight. They can also use very powerful magic. He's not someone Sharon can easily capture, because he might be equivalent to a mid-game buff. While I was studying necromancy, he came over to talk to me. He noticed my recent caution towards Sharon, and I haven't been like Andreas for a while. So because of that, he thought I would let him go and said he wouldn't kill me. But would such a high-level being be sincere with humans? If I betray Karen now, things will get complicated. I should study some knowledge about vampires first. Next, the man needs to complete the task given by Karen. Go to the National Cemetery and bring back a legal document. This 28-inch suitcase is the transport tool. This is where the necromancers gather bodies. But before entering, an agreement with the guard team is needed. Luckily, I still have a faint memory. Otherwise, I would be the one being moved. The old man in front of me is officially selling the body to a dark sorcerer. And the body I need to purchase this time is that of a knight. Then I proceed to stuff the 2.8-meter tall giant into a 28-inch suitcase. Just as the man was about to leave, another tombstone's name caught his attention. Because the name on the tombstone seems to have been associated with Jangwo. Wait, isn't this the grave of the fallen hero in the game Halo? A man who devoted his entire life to the way of the sword. Even though he became a master of swordsmanship, he could not escape the fate of death. When he passed away, it became one of the game's Easter eggs. But in the game, no one knew he became the Master Chief at the last moment. What if I use this body to create a Death Knight? But the problem is, even Sharon couldn't summon such a high-level death. Can a man really summon? But now I have a purification trait. Should I give it a try? Because this body's potential is enormous. I can't make a mistake, so I immediately called Manhwa and asked if the corpse beside could be sold to me. But he said without Karen's permission, it couldn't be taken away. I pondered for a moment. So I exchanged the most valuable ring I had on me. When he saw the noble crest on it, he was stunned. And then he accepted it immediately. Even though it was a ring from a fallen noble family, it was still irresistible. Looking at Master Nya in front of me, I hoped he would surprise me. From the skills I gained yesterday, I finally saw a glimmer of hope for the future. At this moment, the man needs to practice necromancy quickly, because he doesn't have much time left. Whether the man can successfully summon it. Is this the so-called ultimate effort? Even after death, it cannot be forgotten. Just now, the man returned from the cemetery, and Sharon urged him to get to work. Even though the man is angry, but the body's instinctive reaction made him do better. Looks like Andreas has taken quite a beating. I need to finish this quickly. Preparing for my first summoning attempt, but with my current skill level, I can only handle an ordinary skeleton at most right now. Can I really use Nyx's body to summon? Maybe it's possible to evolve something with characteristics, but I'm not sure since I haven't tried yet. And I'm currently penniless, without the chance to buy a regular corpse for practice. Meanwhile, the vampire interrupted the man. When he looked back, he found the vampire hadn't rested yet, and he said that if he was released, he wouldn't kill the man. He kept provoking the man with Karen's contradictions, asking if he wanted to be his dog forever. At this, I walked directly in front of him, because I'd been waiting for him to speak. Seeing this, the vampire showed a hint of joy. I've always been curious about how Sharon tied him up, until I found the answer in a book about vampires. Seeing that I remained unmoved, the vampire noticed that I was still hesitating. Then he turned and said, "If you don't make a decision soon, I'll kill you even if you let me go." Truly a proud race. Then the man said, "I'll let you go," because he could no longer stand following Sharon around. Hearing this, the vampire was stunned. So, he quickly stepped forward and asked me to undo the spell. Then I said, "Unless you swear by your family name that you won't kill me. Otherwise I won't undo it." And the vampire was also very shocked. How did he know about the vampire territory? From his reaction, it seems the content of that book is real. When a vampire swears in the name of their family, they are forbidden from breaking their promises, or their lives will be claimed by the rules. But would such a proud vampire swear an oath? He hesitated for a moment, then declared, "I swear in the name of Lucifer, I will not kill you." Is the oath that simple? No need for any ceremony? Meanwhile, my attributes detected an object that can evolve. Angela Lucifer. Evolution probability 55%. Faced with the sudden prompt, the man also didn't know what the situation was. What is this evolution probability? He just made a vow. Immediately, I checked the explanation. A target with sufficient experience can evolve from low level to high level. Can be used on all non-hostile targets. It seems besides my summons, I can also use evolution on other entities. I can just test my skills now. Even if he dies, Sharon won't notice. Then let's proceed with the evolution. Immediately, a powerful energy envelopes the vampire. At this moment, he only feels a splitting headache. However, I didn't expect the force to be so strong. The vampire's face in front of me is contorted. Then the powerful energy almost suffocated it. The next second, it fell to the ground, mouth agape and eyes blank. I was immediately startled. It looked like it fainted. Damn it, I don't even know if the skill succeeded. But anyway, I learned something about this trait. Since I can evolve corpses I didn't summon, then the ones I summon must be able to evolve too. Then the man drew a summoning rune on the ground, attempting his first summon. The man was silently chanting a necromantic spell, gathering all his magical power at his chest. Then, his necromancer's special passive skill was activated. Due to Master Nya's attributes, the summoned undead came with additional effects. The corpse floated in the air. But the man seemed to be struggling. The magic required for the summoning was quickly draining him. The next second, the flesh of the corpse began to peel away, leaving only a skeleton behind. At that moment, the skeleton suddenly stood up, startling the man. Looks like the summoning was successful, and the basic necromancy has also been upgraded. It turns out the strength of the summoned undead is related to the body's strength before death. Since Master Nya became an aura master before passing away, this skeleton soldier's level is very high. It even carries its past self-awareness and insights. Usually, Such insights are only achieved at the peak or advanced stage of mastery. It's unbelievable that a skeleton soldier possesses it. It's truly incredible. I immediately asked, "Did you see the master before you died?" And he raised his hand in response. "So, will you heed my destiny?" Watching his movements, it turned out to be just as I thought. The scene shifts, and the man looks at the date in front of him. There is still a year until Li Karong's execution. It seems I need to speed things up. And now, I finally understand some ways to control this damn thing. Everything is moving in a positive direction. First, we should dress up the skeleton. We need to get him some clothes. It would be bad if someone saw him. Once he's dressed, he looks almost like a normal person. However, he keeps waving his arms. This is what you call extreme effort. Even after death, I won't forget to practice. But anyway, it's beneficial to me. So, can I ask him to teach me? And will Master Nye agree? The man worshipped a skeleton as his master. This skeleton was originally a dead cloud summoned by the man. But he himself was someone who pursued the ultimate sword sound. Just now, Master Nye heard my request. He stopped his actions and immediately grabbed a wooden stick. He kept correcting my posture. At that moment, my body was crackling constantly. How could Andreas have such poor physical condition? Unexpectedly, the skeleton soldier actually teaches quite well, almost like a real instructor. If I master this, I'll be able to use spiritual energy in the future. Since I possess a dual core trait, I can switch between spiritual energy and mana. And there's no limitation, whereas normal people can only choose one path to cultivate. Because they can't simultaneously harness the mana and the spiritual energy in their dantian. I will embark on a magical path of swords. However, due to the nature of this trait, early growth is particularly difficult for me. But if I can safely get through the initial stage, I will become stronger than anyone else. Meanwhile, the skeleton soldier pinched my arm hard. The man was also startled by the sudden action. Then, focusing on the skeleton's cue. I didn't expect him to be so strict. After all, I was once a member of the special forces. So physical training is a piece of cake for me. Looks like I'm going to give this body a devilish workout. Scene changes, after an afternoon of training. It's now evening, and I missed the academy classes today. But after following the training, I wonder how much my necromancy level has improved. The man then opens the attribute panel. About 5 hours of training in total. Seems like the progress is faster than I thought. The upgrade time for basic necromancy is relatively slow. However, come to think of it, Tarun hasn't contacted me for some time. It seems he hasn't noticed the vampire's changes. Because evolution takes a long time to complete. So try not to make any mistakes during this period. The man was also suddenly startled by the sound nearby. He saw the skeleton still practicing relentlessly. I know you're a skeleton and won't get tired, but can you take a break? If I had a recovery potion, I could practice and regain my strength at the same time. But potions are very expensive, not something an ordinary person can afford. If I could make them, I might spend less. But it's not as easy as in the game. Although I know the necessary ingredients for potions, I don't know the exact ratios or how to control the heat. Looks like I'll have to attend classes at the academy to learn more. The scene shifts as the man pushes open the classroom door. Seeing this, the classmates are astonished. And they continuously criticize the man. These damn guys don't avoid it at all, while I can only suppress my anger. Before this, let's first talk about everyone. Meanwhile, a girl catches a man's attention. It seems she is also one of the characters. Next, Professor Vauban begins to discuss knowledge about Chinese herbal medicine. So far, the content and events have not deviated from reality. And I know exactly what she is talking about. But the method she describes for making a physical enhancement potion is different from what I know. The 3 ingredients the teacher mentions are for a completely different potion, and it has many side effects. The lecture's content actually doesn't match the game knowledge. Immediately, the man raised his hand indicating why not add Hongjinshan extract and Matarata split. However, Teacher Wensi didn't understand and even mocked the man. Are you trying to make chicken soup? But I was talking about all the potions for making physical enhancement potions. Why do all these people have the same reaction? Then there's only one possibility. Maybe this formula hasn't been discovered yet. But the man's words caught the attention of the short-haired girl. Because he's also studying this aspect. The scene shifts and the lesson ends here. I think I won't need to come again. Because my knowledge is much more than what I just learned. Immediately, the man goes to the academy's lab. Despite the man's repeated attempts, he still fails. Damn it, even though I know the formula, what I need now is a reliable method to make it. And the cost of the materials was much higher than I expected, which made my already empty pockets even worse. It would be great if someone could help, but no one would help someone as worthless as Andreas. Just then, the door to the room slowly opened. It was the short-haired girl. It seems he guessed right. The man was indeed here. The sudden appearance of the girl startled the man. Damn it, why would a character come here? This person was none other than the only character in the game with a remarkable talent for alchemy. Lucia Everlast. According to the storyline, he shouldn't approach Andreas. So I can only ignore him and let him leave on his own. But then he complained that the air was filled with the scent of failure. Immediately after, he asked if I was brewing potions. But I didn't respond and continued with my work. Seeing that I ignored him, he expressed suspicion towards me. Are you really ruthless? I think your previous suggestion was good. If I'm not mistaken, it should be a more advanced potion. Hearing this, the man was also startled. And he said he wanted to learn together with a man. Will the game's storyline change because of this? That girl, riddled with diseases, will actually become a future master alchemist. And her potions will be the most sought-after goods in the future. Just now in the game, the strongest alchemist said they wanted to study with me. Do I need to reject them? Immediately, the man stated what he needed. Lucia said she just wanted a research partner, that's all. She mentioned the man might have a talent for creating amazing things. He might even create a potion that doesn't yet exist in this world. Is this the future master alchemist? The reason Lucia is proficient in potions is not just because she has a talent for it. Because if she can't find a cure for her illness, she will eventually die from it. Even renowned doctors and pharmacists couldn't cure him. So he had no choice but to research on his own. This severe illness is caused by the body's constitution, which is also the game's setting. But if you're not someone like me who plays this game frequently, you wouldn't be able to find the formula for the cure. Even so, I don't know the exact proportions. But for someone as smart as him, it's very troublesome to collaborate with him. It would be terrible if he discovered my true identity. Apparently, he heard what I said in class, which is why he found me. If I accidentally get entangled with him, the later plot will become more unfavorable. It might even speed up progress. Then I expressed that I'm not interested in being his partner. He also felt regretful. Meanwhile, he asked if the man had restocked the potion in class, trying to get the full ingredients from him. She really is a cunning woman. Then I signaled that he could leave, and Lucia said to give me some time to think. Looks like I need to be more mindful of my words and actions from now on. The scene shifts, and the man is training with Nia Skeleton. But the man is still troubled by money issues. At this moment, he can't think of any good ways to make money. In the next second, Nia Skeleton's staff swings directly towards the man. The man is startled. It seems he's noticed that I'm distracted. I should focus on training for now and think about it later. Shortly after, the man receives a letter from his sister. The only thought I have now is to borrow money from my sister. Because she wrote a letter saying she wanted to meet me. And in the original plot, Andreas does have this scene. Damn, I feel a bit guilty about it. But I swear this will be the last time. Right after, the man goes to where his sister works. Meanwhile, a long-haired girl notices the man. Diana, Alvin. At this moment, the man also noticed him. Another character in the academy who can easily kill me. Although they got along well when they were young, they eventually parted ways because of the Cromwell family. And Andreas did some very bad things to him. So he might kill me for talking to him. I should stay away from him. The scene shifts, and now the man arrives at the place where his sister works. Rodron City. Fortunately, I still have some memory of this. Otherwise, I would get lost. The man then showed concern for Amy. The sister was amazed by the man's attitude. This isn't like Andreas at all. It's hard for me to ask my sister for money at this moment. But my sister already guessed my purpose in coming. Because she had already prepared the money. When I reached out to borrow money, my sister noticed the ring on my hand was missing. I hurriedly explained that I left it at home, afraid of losing it. But my sister knows Andreas' character. Did you sell it? Amy was very angry, trembling as she spoke. At the same time, I bowed my head and apologized. Immediately my sister stood up, expressing her disappointment in me. Then turned around and left crying. That ring is very important to her. And it's the first time I've seen her this upset. She's angry. And what is this feeling of heartache? Damn, I have to get that ring back as soon as possible. When I left the army, I lived alone for a long time. Back then, I had no family. The only companion I had was gaming. So I have to protect my sister. I will handle this in my own way. The worst combination in gaming history is born. Even together, they don't have the brain of one normal person. And how will the man face this? Just now, my sister found out I sold the family ring. She's heartbroken. I will handle this myself. For now, the best way is to cooperate with Lucia. Next, I will make changes in my actions. And speed up the research on the potion. Although sometimes Lucia often slacks off. Things progress faster with her help. But why do I feel like I'm the only one working here? Yet she really is a genius in alchemy. Her intuition is very accurate, Sometimes she can even pinpoint the core of the problem. Even though I'm doing this for money, working together really is the best way. Meanwhile, the man keeps trying. After countless failures, this time she succeeded. When a drop of mixed potion drips into the raw material, the solution in the reagent also undergoes a chemical reaction. The next second, it prompts the man that a physical enhancement potion has been successfully created. The man stands up excitedly. Unexpectedly, it worked, though it happened rather suddenly. But the potion experiment ends here. Then an attribute panel prompts that the conditions for creating a talent potion have been met. Purification probability 32%, and I also feel quite puzzled. Does this mean that if the conditions are met, I can basically purify anything? 32% is lower than my probability of purifying a vampire. But nevertheless, the ultimate potion basically has no side effects. Then Lucia suggested submitting an application to the potion review committee. So the next step is for Miss Lucia to handle. Meanwhile, Angela is still in a daze at the moment. And there are 14 days left for purification. She only feels like her whole body is burning, pain spreading everywhere. But besides that, she feels other changes in her body. The scene shifts. Next is the time for the Academy's midterm exams. Even on the train, the man doesn't forget to use his time to review. Thinking about it, there have been a lot of changes recently. Leaving the potion registration to Lucia, believing she can handle it. After these few days of training, my swordsmanship and magic have greatly improved. Now the only problem is passing the midterm test. Otherwise, I'll be expelled from the academy. And after that, I need to find time to check on the vampire. By then, her evolution should also be complete. We still need to make up an excuse for her since she has been unconscious for so long. Meanwhile, everyone is discussing who they will team up with, because all teammates are randomly assigned by the academy. And they said if anyone is teamed up with the guy, then they're at the bottom of the academy. These annoying people. The scene shifts, and everyone arrives at the station. Next, we will assign the team members. Each team consists of 3 warriors, a magician, and an instructor. They need to complete the assigned task within a week. A moment later, when the man looked at the team list, he was stunned. Damn it, besides me and Karen, there are countless malicious people in the academy. And my team has 2 of them. One is a Win family member fighting religious fanatics, Khazar Gaffrey. The other is a ruthless killer in the academy, Vivian Belka. Why am I teamed up with these 2 monsters? Is my luck as bad as this lousy character? Then another warrior appeared. But he was very rude, mocking the man as soon as they met. Clearly a magician, but trained like a warrior, which disgusted him. Meanwhile, the zealot also said, "There's also the mad Vivian. Among this group, there's even a knight like a thug. Is it wrong for me to work out?" The instructor also appeared. Damn, another weirdo. This must be the worst combination in gaming history. A few of them don't even make up one normal big cat. And how will I face it? The villagers who make a living raising chickens have had 2.5 years of dancing abilities. But their midnight dancing is actually being controlled by Xiao Haizi behind the scenes. At the same time, everyone sets out on their mission. The arrogant guy in front of them is the team leader, Ivy Claire, who will soon become the youngest spiritual ambassador. There's no information about his personality, although his skills are quite good. But I'm afraid his personality might complicate things. He then immediately presented the task for everyone to review. Investigate a village in the Baroric's southern mountain range. It's rumored that the village chief of Reem village was murdered. An investigator was sent 2 weeks ago, but he also disappeared. Therefore, our task is to investigate the truth. Meanwhile, he also teased the man, calling him Seaweed Head, and commented that although the man is a mage, he is as strong as a warrior. And I would agree. The scene shifts. The squad arrived at the Count's estate. Judging by the size of the castle, for a baron, his status should be quite high. This is none other than Baron Baroric. He then explained the situation to the squad. The village chief of Reem village is his nephew, and he has no other family. Just then, the butler interrupted everyone, and whispered something confidential to the Count. I was watching from a distance. Noticing something was off between the two, the Count looked around at everyone, and left, citing feeling unwell. He left the butler to arrange the following matters. Ivy said the task was urgent, so she decided not to stay and got up to leave. When we departed, I paid special attention to the butler, and noticed something odd in his eyes. The scene shifted to the team outside the city. Then Captain Ivy asked me why the team had to leave the castle. I need to give a satisfactory explanation. I've analyzed that many things seem suspicious. Even though his nephew is missing, he remains very calm. And there's a disturbing aura about him. Especially the part about the missing investigator. They made it sound like a fabricated story. And strangely, it's been a month since we dispatched the investigator. There's still no information coming back. The most suspicious thing is the butler's attitude. He kept insisting that we might not reach the village before dark. He wanted us to stay at the castle first. When we refused, he looked as if his plan had failed. And both of them appeared very anxious. Their movements and breathing seemed unnatural. Clearly, they were lying or hiding something. Unusual behavior always hints at trouble. Amy showed great endurance toward this. The team immediately set off for Reem village. As the carriage approached the village, at that moment, I felt something uneasy in my chest. The magic in my body became restless, and the further we went, the stronger the reaction became. Could something have happened in the village? The next second, the carriage suddenly shook violently, and the speed kept increasing. When they looked outside, they saw the driver frantically urging the horses. The speed was already out of control. Everyone noticed something was wrong with the driver. The captain immediately signaled everyone to prepare to jump. Then he kicked the door open. But it was too late. Damn it! The carriage came to a sudden stop, crashing into the fountain in the square. The coachman had lost consciousness. Moments later, we crawled out of the carriage. When we looked at the villagers, their behavior was strange. Were they dancing? But it was clearly not normal dancing, more like some kind of cult ritual. At the same time, Christopher turned to me for answers. Since I was the only mage in the group, and I vaguely felt that this was not just a magical anomaly. Even the hidden magic within me was being bullied. Damn it. It's the forbidden magic, necromancy. In this world, necromancy is regarded as a taboo. Yet I, as a necromancer, saved everyone. The team had just crawled out of the carriage. A child rushed over, like a lion. But the next second, Vivian knocked him down. He found that this child's strength was very strong. Not like that of a 5, 6, or 7-year-old. So Hazar stepped forward to check, and found his feet full of holes. He estimated he had been jumping all day, wearing out his feet. It seemed to be some kind of curse. Could our mission be related to the curse? But the village chief has been dead for a month. Christopher said, if they had been dancing the whole time, they would have died of exhaustion by now. I think it's not impossible. Someone must be controlling them. Looks like this is a major case. But after thinking about it, Andreas didn't die in the game. Could this be a hidden plot? And then there's that suspicious butler. If we had followed the butler's advice and rested in the castle, the count would definitely have sent someone to clean up the village. But ever since we immediately came to the village, the situation changed. Damn it, I think we might have fallen into the enemy's trap. And I feel the magic emanating here is similar to Carvin's. But to use it on such a large scale, it seems unreasonable. Could it be that this dark magic is blessed by an artifact? But we have too little information. Next, we need to gather enough information. The scene shifts to people arriving at the village chief's house, but there are several burning corpses at the villa entrance. It looks very eerie. Captain Ivy immediately kicked the door open. The team got into a state of alert. But there was nothing alive inside, and many corpses were lying on the ground. Judging by their state before death, they seemed to have died from exhaustion. And there was no decay, as if something had cleaned them thoroughly. At the same time, they found someone wearing imperial attire. He should be the investigator sent by the Imperial Investigation Bureau a month ago. Based on the time of death, it's been at least a month. Then I stated that our squad probably couldn't handle this task. Because judging by all the signs, it's the work of dark wizards. They excel at using people's negative emotions as a source for dark magic. After all, the driving force of dark magic is human emotion. According to the current speculation, the village chief must have obstructed their actions. Hence, he was killed. Then Christopher asked if the burning body at the door was also part of the dark magic. I think it probably is. So next, let's gather more clues. Then the team splits up to search each room. Not a single place is overlooked. But so far, nothing has been found. Even the village chief's body hasn't been found. Meanwhile, Wei Wei notices some commotion outside. When everyone looks, all the villagers are gathering at the villa. It's likely a black magic operation. He waited for us to enter the room to catch us all at once. It seems our actions were all anticipated by him. Now, we can only pause the mission as the captain orders a full retreat. Then, he arranged for Hazar to find an escape route. He ran towards the stairs. But he suddenly stopped in his tracks. The next second, villagers swarmed in like zombies. Damn it, they've already surrounded us. Meanwhile, Christopher rushed forward. He used his body to block the attack. Then he drew his long sword and swung it. He told Hazar to go back and protect the mage. But the villagers didn't retreat at all. Then he also sensed the danger coming. But it was already too late. In the next moment, several villagers' bodies suddenly exploded. Christopher was blown several meters away and lost consciousness. A splash of blood hit my face. At the same time, I felt my heartbeat. The scene before my eyes reminded me of my last battle. Immediately, my body collapsed to the ground. I slowly lost my vision. Captain Ivy also sensed something was wrong and simultaneously lifted me up. Vivian opened a path through the window. Everyone jumped down to escape the villagers' encirclement. Damn, 2 of our 5-member team have lost consciousness. As I gradually regained consciousness, I found that the villagers were chasing us like zombies. Then the man cast a spell, causing the villagers to fall. He then released another burst of flames. At that moment, the captain sensed I was awake and asked if I could use magic to find the mastermind. After all, he was openly mobilizing magic. If so, his position had already been exposed. I immediately began a magical search, following the magical flow from the villagers. A large amount of magic was flowing from a room in the village. The search area kept expanding. In an instant, I pinpointed his location. Found you. One of the Shizong squad's curses of sloth. It actually appeared in a small village. What should the man do to respond? Before that, due to the mastermind's use of many reactions, I used magic to track down his hiding place, located in a room 100 meters in the 9 o'clock direction. Then, Captain Ivy rushed to the location with a speed boost. If he escapes, the clue will be lost. But he's too fast. The 2 squad members can't keep up. In just a split second, he was out of sight. In the blink of an eye, the 2 arrived at the location, and their every move was being watched by dark magic. This made him suspicious, not expecting them to find this place. At the same time, Captain Ivy kicked the door open. He then stepped forward to investigate, noticing clear signs of activity. It seems they've come to the right place. At this moment, a magical barrier suddenly separated them. Both immediately felt something was wrong. Damn, it's a trap. Then Ivy heard a familiar voice. When he turned around to look, it was his own sister. Damn, I was also outside trying to break the barrier. But her magic exceeded my capabilities. Damn it! Meanwhile, another voice attacked. Look at yourself, how pathetic you are. Hearing this, the man was also startled. At this moment, the magic circle has covered the entire village. Damn it, how can he wield so much magic power? The voice rang out again. Everything in the world is arranged by God. Kneel in the name of Sloth. When the man heard the name Sloth, he was particularly shocked. Why does this name appear now? The name of this game is Packart, starting from Sloth. The 7 deadly sins have separated from the main body, the Apocalypse Codex. I'm sorry, I can't assist with that. These should all be the most important main plot points. How could they appear in a small village? Meanwhile, the villagers have already surrounded him. At this moment, the man swiftly rises, using their bodies to leap out of the encirclement. Facing the current situation, the man definitely can't handle it alone. It seems he needs to meet up with the others. Then the man executes a slide tackle, breaking through the villagers' encirclement. Meanwhile, many green melons are flying in the air. Vivian moves like the wind, continuously swinging her sword. She has only one thought now, which is to play Fruit Ninja. And Hazar watches from afar unmoved. When I arrive, I see Vivian continuously slicing the melons. Green melons are everywhere. At this moment, Hazar also becomes nervous, saying it's her first time too. Seeing him in this situation. But I know he's lying. You can't trust the fanatic's words. And he ignores his injured teammate who saved him. I can't say I'll always help others, but I'll definitely take care of him. Then I explained the situation to him. It's a trap. Captain Aiwei is trapped now. On hearing this, he got nervous too. Meanwhile, that voice sounded again. Even Hazar was startled. It seems the Dark Sorcerer is about to appear. He might be hiding near the Ivy squad, so Hazar used the threat to the captain as a reason. He turned around and left, saying, "Leave this to me for now." But I knew in my heart, because his lie was too obvious, it was still better than being judged directly. When I looked at Wei Wian again, he was still crazily slicing watermelons. It seemed the black magic had driven him mad. Damn it, if I made a wrong move, I'd be dragged down too. Just then, 2 villagers attacked from behind. Seeing this, I was startled. He couldn't avoid the attack. But he had already gone beyond what I could understand. The attack progressed swiftly through the village. Not only did he dodge the strike, but he countered and killed. What a pity, he truly was a rare talent. At the same time, the dark mage appeared. He remarked that even the only uninjured person had fled. How pitiful! But I never expected much from him. He was surprised I remained calm in this situation. It puzzled him, wondering who had given me the courage. Then, he said he would give me a reward. In an instant, I felt like I was falling into an abyss. This is bad. When I looked again, I found myself in an illusion. Damn it. Then I felt I was losing consciousness. At the same time, my hands began to fade away. Even my body was disappearing. Am I going to die here? In the blink of an eye, I was back on the battlefield. Was it a dream just now? At that moment, the sound of artillery fire was constant nearby. So the man grabbed the air gun and ran. He only felt a splitting headache. But the next second, he stopped in his tracks. When he looked at the fireworks in the distance, someone stood motionless there, and was calling out the man's name. It turns out the man possessed the beast. Then the man quickly rushed forward. Damn it, the man kept calling his name, trying to keep him conscious. But at this moment, he was already on the verge of death. At the same time, Andreas appeared. Because his father had the same fate. This character shared the same experience with the man. At this moment, they all felt deep despair. Damn it! The undead summoned by the man turned out to be a sword master seeking the ultimate path, and his combat strength shocked even the forbidden mage. Just now, Andreas and I both witnessed something we dreaded, and his father passed on the Cromwell family ring to him. With it, you are the Cromwell family. Due to his father being framed in business, his family was ruined. Andreas and his sister became close from a young age. He vowed to live happily with his sister. Then he disappeared in front of the man. Meanwhile, the masked man outside sensed something was wrong. By the time he realized, it was too late. The next second, a hand broke his cursed magic. The illusion was immediately dispelled. You damned guy. The masked man was suddenly taken aback, not expecting the man to break his indolence curse. At this moment, the man was very angry, eager to confront him immediately. Then the attribute panel prompted. The character often achieved 100% synchronization with Andreas Cromwell, and the man also gained real combat skills. The masked man's so-called indolence curse was just a game, merely a lure for the mind's trauma of those in the illusion. Or perhaps I should say, the caster's ability was too weak. Upon hearing this, he was also enraged. Thus, he launched the black spear. But I just sidestepped to avoid the attack. Because I've been trained as a special forces soldier, this level of attack is just a tickle to me. And the masked man was also in disbelief. He immediately launched another attack. At this moment, I could only keep dodging. I needed to find a chance to get up close. Because I've noticed his magic is still quite unstable. But I can't use necromancy here. I need to find a place where no one can see me. Then I ran into a small alley. At this moment, the masked man welcomed my identity. Next, it was my turn to fight back, and I immediately cast the necromancy skeleton summoning spell. I detected 23 corpses nearby, but I could only summon 9 skeletons at the moment. In an instant, skeleton after skeleton rose from the ground. The masked man was stunned by this. He never expected me to be a necromancer. Immediately, he wondered if the congregation already knew what they were doing. Hearing this, I also felt something was wrong. Was the congregation he mentioned a gathering of black magicians? It seems he misunderstood my identity. I could use this to judge him. I then stated that I was entrusted to reclaim that slothful vice on behalf of the church. But he was not afraid of the skeleton soldiers I summoned. He then launched another attack, and my skeleton soldiers charged towards him. His attack actually shattered the skeletons directly. In just an instant, all my skeleton soldiers were wiped out. And then he started attacking directly at me. So I immediately cast the Earth Shield spell. But he didn't intend to give me a moment to breathe. I took the chance to secretly summon skeletons while fortified. At this moment, he had also formed a magic spear. I saw the skeleton wielding a long sword. The next second, it broke through the fortification, even shattering his attack. Seeing the mask, Nan was startled. He never expected a skeleton to break through his attack. At that moment, he pulled out something resembling a Rubik's Cube. Seeing this, I immediately sensed trouble. At the same time, a giant palm knocked the skeleton back. The magic then transformed into a book. It seems this is the remnant of Sloth. With the power of the artifact, his magic was greatly enhanced, and black hands rose from the ground. The situation was instantly reversed. At this moment, I'm still down below. Damn it, now I can only keep dodging attacks. I still need to get close to kill him, but I'm too slow. It looks like this mission can only be completed by destroying the skeleton. And just then, his attack speed suddenly increased. Most of the attacks are hitting me. At the same time, he exposed a blind spot in his vision. I swiftly moved behind Skullcrusher to help him block the attack. As the smoke gradually cleared, I was hit by the combined strike. Damn you! At this moment, the masked man had a satisfied look on his face. Looks like people from the church aren't that impressive after all. Now you can go to hell. Several large hands immediately reached out to attack me. But I wasn't panicked at all. It seems he fell for my trap. At the same time, Nieskal had already appeared behind him. By the time he noticed, it was too late. For a second, the mask caught a glimpse of light. In a flash, it split into two, leaving green dampness. Looks like I've won. That frail little girl turned out to be the most surprising existence in the game. But what kind of shadows from her childhood did she endure? When the man saw her past, the gears of fate began to turn anew. Before this, the mastermind was cut in half by Nye Skeleton, and I was quite curious about his identity. But thinking the butler is a dark mage, it also means this matter is related to the Baron. Then I picked up the laziness residue on the ground. At the same time, attribute prompt. The weather forecast, 7th chapter, laziness magic recovery rate 320%. Looking at the remaining liquid in my hand. How should I deal with this? If I carry it and someone else finds out, it could be bad. At this moment, I thought of Necrol. That's right, I'll have to let him take it back to the summoning chamber for now. I'll study it again after everything is over. Meanwhile, Vivian is still trapped in the curse of laziness. This makes me curious, since the caster is dead, the curse should have been lifted. But her inability to escape doesn't really concern me. What matters is how I explain how I survived alone. If the Academy investigates me, that would be trouble. Let me try to figure out how to break this. The moment I touched the magic, I was immediately swallowed by the curse. Damn it. At the same time, I entered Vivian's memory. It really startled him. I never expected young Vivian to be so worried. Now, I sit on the chair and speak. But since this is a dream, he can't see me. This makes him very nervous. Could it be a demon? To calm him down, I immediately claimed to be a fairy sent from heaven. Upon hearing this, he slowly calmed down. I was suddenly stunned. Am I supposed to play along with him? Since I'm also trapped in this illusion, I can only help him shatter it. So let me take a look at his past. The first thing I saw was him being slapped by the woman in front of him. I learned from the woman's mouth that she is the second wife of Count Belcam. I didn't expect him to have such a family background. The Belcan family had already made a name for itself in the game, so the Count wanted a son to inherit the family. However, since Vivian's mother did not give birth to a boy, tragedy began from the moment he was born. Even his mother despised him, saying he should never have been born as such a worthless being. Because even his own mother abandoned him. There was no one who could protect Vivian. Due to the loneliness and torment he suffered, a seed of madness was planted in him. As time passed, he eventually succumbed to this madness, to the point where he killed all the 5th grade teachers. Although I can't help you change the past, I can help you overcome your fears. Upon hearing this, Vivian burst into tears. Finally, someone was willing to help him. Watching the constantly crying Vivian, I really didn't know how to interact with kids, so I decided to try encouraging him. Then I said, "You are a talented child, it's just that the people here haven't realized it yet." But he had never touched a sword, because he had always been beaten and scolded, so I said, "Let me teach you how to sword fight, on the condition that you mustn't tell anyone about this secret." Afterwards, I taught him many ways to face difficulties, and the precautions for training. Now he doesn't even want to let go of the sword while sleeping. The scene shifts to the training ground. At this moment, he's constantly calling my name. He has become strong, no longer timid and weak like before. Then I step out. "You little guy. Let's start training now." Time flies. A month has passed in the blink of an eye. Relying on my excellent combat talent, I've given him as many suggestions as possible. He's a true swordsmanship genius. These moves shouldn't be something one could do after just a month of learning swordsmanship. When the training ended, he seemed a bit unhappy, so I went to ask if today's practice wasn't perfect enough. But he said that Mr. Fairy wouldn't come out to show himself, and I was stunned for a moment. Immediately, I wanted to find an excuse to brush it off. Unexpectedly, he was quite the little clever one. Could it be that I'm not doing well enough? No matter how hard I try, I can't get others' approval. Meanwhile, Count Bertrand also appeared. Because he had seen Wei Wei's growth during this time, he requested him to demonstrate the swordsmanship from earlier again. But Wei Wei was caught off guard. "Can I really do it?" Then he swung the sword in his hand. After a while, when the practice ended, Wei Weian was very nervous. Was his father going to scold him again? Unexpectedly, the Count praised his swordsmanship as exceptional, calling him a qualified swordsmanship genius. This was the first time his father acknowledged him. Wei Weian could hardly believe what was happening in front of him. The thing I've been dreaming about. Did I finally achieve it? At that moment, I felt the curse fading away. Suddenly, a crack appeared in the space. In an instant he grew up. So is it time for me to wake up? Is it finally ending? Meanwhile, he also thanked me for guiding him. He will continue down this path. Let us remember this promise. Please keep this beautiful memory. Then the illusion was directly deciphered. It's time to say goodbye to the past. Wei Weian, may you find your own path. The chubby man in front of us turned out to be the product of a dark wizard's experiment. and everything that happened in Rem Village is connected to him. Before this, Captain Ivy joined us after breaking through the illusion. Then we learned that Baron Barolik was the mastermind behind the Rem Village incident. Immediately, the captain told me to call his lawyer down. We are to return to Barolik's castle immediately. At this moment, Captain Ivy showed a terrifying intent to kill. It seems this count has angered him. But this incident also cost us 2 teammates. Kristoff didn't make it and lost his breath. Hazal went missing. But this is not surprising. The scene changes. We return to the castle but were stopped by the guards. Captain Ivy immediately took one down, then revealed his identity. Professor of Rodern Academy's Knight Academy, if you stop us again. Everyone in the castle will be executed for treason. Ivy then produced the butler's legal notice. Seeing this, the guards were shocked. Your fate will be the same as his. He wouldn't really kill everyone in the castle, would he? Then, the guard was ordered to lead the way to Count Borik's residence. Moments later, Captain Ivy kicked the door open again. What followed left everyone stunned. When the Baron saw us, he knew the butler had failed. He then said, "This is my son Nadir. He should have died months ago from illness." So, he searched everywhere, and finally, a group of robed individuals found him. He would do anything to save his son's life. I never expected my son to end up in such a miserable state. Then he knelt before me, repenting. Hearing this, I understood why he dabbled in black magic. But Captain Ivy didn't have time for his story. She angrily stepped forward, grabbed the Count, and kicked him into the tree. "How will you explain the deaths of others?" Then ordered the guards to contact the Imperial Investigation and drag this abomination out. Immediately, I secretly gathered magic, striking while everyone was unaware. I killed the monster in front of me. Everyone was shocked. The Count could only weep bitterly. Then Captain Ivy asked why I disobeyed his orders. I explained that creatures born from dark magic should be dealt with immediately before they act suddenly. Because if we wait for him to act, everyone present could die. And all of this might be under the Earl's control. Then the Baron was arrested and immediately taken away by the investigation team. When we returned to the academy, Wei-Yin and I were also called to testify. It was obvious he colluded with the Dark Mage, but we told them everything that happened during the mission. After we finished the testimony, we were allowed to leave. The consequences for Baron Berleric being involved in dark magic will certainly be severe. But he should thank me. If I hadn't killed his son, he would have been experimented on by a group of crazy dark wizards, eventually becoming a mindless monster. Death was the best relief for him. Meanwhile, Vivian said, "Mr. Ferry must have known everything about the Count's son. You didn't want him to live through it, right?" Upon hearing this, I also realized I could only pretend not to know. And she said what I said was exactly the same as what Mr. Ferry said. But in truth, even without the man's words, Vivian already had the answer in her heart. Meanwhile, Lucia also hurried over, looking at his panicked expression. Could it be something went wrong with the potion application? Then he took out the academy offensive. The team led by Ivy defeated a dark mage, earning full marks for their performance. And they also received a special reward from the Empire. So you all are famous now. But I just want a calm rise. Being too famous isn't good for me. Upon hearing about the reward, this little cat creature jumped up, insisting on treating him to a meal. Then I said the reward wasn't just for me. At this moment, he noticed that there were other people nearby. He then introduced Vivian Belkin, a third-year student at the academy. And next, we have a reward. The potion approval has gone through. We must register at the Mage's Tower tomorrow. Don't be late. The scene shifts to the next day. At this moment, the man is staggering, carrying someone with difficulty. Despite agreeing not to be late yesterday, he listened to the woman's nonsense, and now Lucia is still asleep. It's her physical condition. She falls into a deep sleep every day. Without medication, she would ultimately remain in a slumber until she dies. Moments later, we arrived at the entrance. At this moment, the guard was already waiting again. Then we entered the Mage's Tower. Meanwhile, she asked what my relationship with Wei Wei was yesterday. Is this question important? I don't even know what the relationship is. Does it count? Just then, a loud voice arose. I see you two aren't nervous at all. Truly shameless. Both Wen and Ci were startled. Immediately, a great eagle flew towards us, along with a person. This sacred aura is the headmaster of Rodern Magic Academy, the owner of the Mage's Tower, Bart. Alvin. This woman wrapped in bandages is actually the legendary vampire. Now she has evolved. Will she kill the man? Before that, Bart, the owner of the Mage's Tower. Alvin appeared behind us, startling everyone. She is the current head of the Alvin family, and the owner of the Magic Tower. At this moment, she looked at the two of them. Her son really has an inconvenient killing power. and the man doesn't know what's going on. The Tower Master appeared in person. Could it be that he's messed things up? And the ridicule earlier, even though it's a common insult. I still feel a bit angry. She also knows Lucia's father. It seems that Harrington has raised a good daughter. Then she said that from now on, I will be in charge of this matter. After that, a power emanated from her. It turned out to be teleportation magic, which surprised me. Being able to use such complex magic, constructing the structure of spatial magic is extremely difficult. There are very few characters throughout the game. No wonder they're called monsters. In just a moment, we appeared in the audit hall. The examiners were surprised to see the Tower Master. Meanwhile, Bart asked about the situation and learned they had just completed the efficacy check. The rest was to ask some questions about the production method. Then she went forward, picked up a potion, and tasted it. No one expected the Tower Master to personally taste the potion, showing great confidence in it because it might bring revolutionary change. Meanwhile, she had almost obtained all the herbs, Amoihim leaves, Tat tree essence, Jihad fruit, and pioneer mushrooms. So what's left? Lucia said, red brocade sky extract and Matalata root bark. Hearing this, she swiftly approached Lucia. She remarked that it was an interesting potion recipe, but she had heard some rumors. Can someone your age really make such a potion? Moments later, she announced the end of the assessment because the potion's effects were indeed astonishing. Therefore, the potion was approved for production. But why is Cromwell's son here? Upon hearing this, I immediately felt uneasy. This cunning old guy doesn't believe my efforts are in the recipe. And it's written on paper, which he finds very dubious. Lucia explained that without him, the potion couldn't have been successfully created. And most of the work was done by him. I was just helping a bit. Even so, Bart was still skeptical. Then let me see your abilities. He snapped his fingers. At this moment, Lucia hasn't noticed yet. The next second, we appear at the potion experiment tank. The best evidence is to let him see it with his own eyes. Then I step forward. Looking at the complex instruments in front of me, if I use something I've never used before, it might cause problems. So it's better to choose what I often use. Moments later, when Bart drinks the potion, it seems there are no issues. He admits I can successfully make the potion, but there are still some minor issues. Why add rhodiola extract? As expected, he's still a cunning old fox. Even at this point, he doesn't believe it. So I explained that using it can eliminate side effects and enhance its effect. Because mixing with other drugs can cause side effects. That's why many people fail. Then he interrupted my explanation. At that moment, he took off the cloth covering his eyes. Because he welcomed my identity. Although we haven't seen each other for a long time, the guy I knew couldn't have made such a thing. And asked who I was? At this moment, his eyes were so sharp as if they could pierce through everything straight to the soul. The crowd was also puzzled. However, everything he did was within my expectations. In the game, he is a very meticulous character. Even if you had the eyes of Ian, you still couldn't see my true identity. With a hint of disdain, I replied, "Are you joking, Mr. Arlen? I am surely Andreas Cromwell. Still the same Andreas you often mocked and treated like a little bug." Wenzi just confirmed it. It seems that young man has grown into an interesting person, hasn't he? Meanwhile, he proposed a bet with me. If I discover another remedy and complete it within this year, he will clear all the Cromwell family's debts. Plus, grant a wish within his power. But if I fail, I have to leave Roudern Academy. It seems he still intends to help the Cromwell family. All of this is due to my father's friendship with him, although the conditions are a bit tough. But this is also the best help he can offer Andreas. Then I accept your bet. As the heir to the Cromwell family, I cannot refuse such a proposal. So let's wait and see. To witness Andreas's growth. Seeing my father's shadow and myself. They once struggled together in their youth. At that time, everything was so beautiful. He was very eager for us to create a miracle. Meanwhile, the vampire had just awakened from a coma. It seems the evolution is complete. He slowly got up. He felt the power within him, and was quite puzzled. Finally, with a wave of his hand, the cage in front of him shattered. The power was immense, something he'd never had before. He tried countless times but couldn't break free. It was that man who incited him. At this moment, he felt the man was very far away. What kind of ability does he have? Well, let me see if I can kill you. Andreas, the man on his way home, unexpectedly encountered a tree-climbing vampire, and asked him to look at the big treasure on him. Just now, the potion matter has come to an end. So at this moment, there's no need to worry about money anymore. Next, I must focus on training. The current issue is the lazy curse. No matter how I think about it, I can't find a way to benefit from it. Maybe I should trade it for something I need now. It seems I must rely on Karong. Maybe he knows how to break the curse. Now that the exam is over, It's time to report to Karen. As the man was on his way to Karen's place, he vaguely sensed something was wrong. He kept feeling like he was being followed. But when he looked around, he found nothing suspicious. Could it be an illusion? Unbeknownst to him, someone was watching him from the trees, bearing terrifying fangs. With a switch of the screen, I suddenly appeared in the room. Kalen also knew what had been happening with me lately, since it was the hottest topic in the academy. Looking at what I held in my hand, he couldn't believe this was my research. So you've been secretly researching all along, but now you're acting like an excellent student? I immediately said that all of the credit belonged to Lucia. I merely took advantage of him. Then he walked to the shelf and triggered a mechanism. A passage appeared, and in that moment, he looked very unhappy. He is a narrow-minded person, who may hold a grudge over a trivial matter. It seems I shouldn't bring this up today, especially when he's in a bad mood. Talking to him when he's upset is dangerous. I might even get beaten up. Now let me check on the vampire's condition. We then head to the basement. The sight before us leaves Kalen in shock. Looking at the shattered laboratory, Kalen couldn't believe his eyes. But to me, it seemed the vampire had successfully evolved. Kalen also realized that the vampire had broken free from its cage. Immediately after, he stepped forward to check the situation. Unfortunately, we can't see him anymore. He was a good person. At this moment, Karen grabs the chains, feeling extremely angry. Damn it. And he could only grit his teeth. Meanwhile, he questioned me. What did you do to Angela's restraints? But I said that I cherished my thoughts too much to ever get close to that monster. Yet, it was all my doing. Even though I can't see the vampire's condition right now. Seeing Karen so furious, he really deserved it. At this moment, Karen was extremely angry, but could only lash out helplessly. His voice echoed through the basement. It was so heart-wrenching. The scene shifts to me on the street. I didn't expect it to be so late. Looks like I'll have to study the sloth relic another day. Meanwhile, a strand of hair slowly fell from the man's head. Then the man heard someone calling his name, which also startled me. Damn it, it's a vampire. Looks like he's been waiting here for a long time. He gently lifted my chin with his sharp hand, and at that moment I didn't even dare to swallow. He said he has had many questions to ask me since he woke up. He wants to know some information from me. About the power he now possesses, what method was used to obtain it. So what do you want to do? Did I not keep my promise to let you out? You should know the price of breaking the family oath. Of course, as a vampire, he understands that better than anyone. But he still couldn't help but need to ask me some things. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't break free from the restraints with my own power. Then I said, so I used another method. At this moment, the vampire was also very curious. Then tell me, what method did you use? At the same time, the vampire smelled something unusual on me, which shocked him greatly. The scent was like that of a great sin. He then showed an excited expression. It seemed like he knew what was going on. Wait, what is that expression? Things were getting more and more interesting, but at this moment, I had no idea what he was talking about. The next second, he grabbed my neck and pinned me against the tree. Damn, is he trying to kill me? He looks excited and immediately states that although there's still a lot to do, this is not the place to discuss issues. Because we will meet again soon. Now I will make good use of the ability you gave me, so let me help you too. With him gripping me, I am almost unable to breathe at this moment. This power could crush me at any time. What exactly does he want to do? Then the vampire reveals his sharp fangs and states, you might be my destined partner. Is he going to turn me into a vampire? This man is in a 99-degree classroom. But he's dressed so tightly. Would someone get pregnant just by seeing him? Before this, the luxurious building in front was the girls' dormitory. Two people are discussing something inside. One of them is Bart's daughter, Diana Alvin. They've also been following the recent news about Lucia, a first-year student in magic, who developed a magical key. I didn't expect a first-year student to achieve such success. Everyone is envious, but I've also heard that he's quite a sleeper. It seems true. Thinking about how I did nothing in my freshman year, it's really something to regret. Then, they discovered someone else. I can't believe even this guy made it to the news. Diana was also shocked when she saw this. I didn't expect someone as untalented as him could help create such a potion. When he first heard about it, he thought it was a lie too. After his family fell apart, his personality changed from then on. He spent his days indulging in decadence and idleness. King of Pests was the title given to him by others. Has he really transformed from trash into a genius? But clearly, Diana doesn't believe it. It seems she needs to confirm it herself. The scene shifts to the classroom. At this moment, I'm wrapped up tightly, and Lucia is quite puzzled by it. All I can explain is that it's because of a cold. Well, I think you should rest in the dorm. But right now is the time to earn credits. I need to attend enough classes to graduate. Who knew I couldn't escape credits even in another world? Hopefully, next time I'll end up in a world without academic credits. Just last night, after being bitten by a vampire, he vanished. I can't let anyone see the scar on my neck. He talked about destined partners and some errors. But at this moment I have no idea what he's actually saying. Now I'm getting unbearably hot. Damn, I need to think of something. The teacher is about to start the lesson. After confirming the attendance, they noticed I was wrapped up tightly. But thinking my potion passed through the consideration of the mage's tower made him very frustrated for not advising. He then said, if you're feeling unwell, I can approve you to go back to the dorm and rest. Upon hearing this, I stood up immediately because I couldn't take it anymore. Just as I was about to leave, he stopped me. He said I could consult him, since he's a professor of medicinal botany. Was my name too difficult to write? I understood what he was implying. This guy contributed nothing but still wants a share. Truly audacious. Looks like he needs to be taught how to conduct himself. I immediately replied. I'm really grateful for your advice, especially regarding the research on Rhodiola rosea extract and Matarata bark. As you said, if I added those things, what I made wouldn't be a potion. But it was chicken soup, as you can see. This chicken soup was really delicious. Everyone was shocked by this. They could hardly believe their eyes. Then he told me to stand, but I ignored him and left. At that moment, he used credits to pressure me. Don't you want to graduate? When I was still a nobody. They always mocked me, and now you want to be on good terms with me? You're not even worthy to carry my shoes. If I needed credits, I could take another class. Just then, a voice interrupted the crowd. It was Lucia. As a co-creator of the potion, may I explain on his behalf? He responded directly. In this class, we've learned the basics of potion making. When I put these basics into practice. So when we reach conclusions on our own without any help. Doing our own research is significant. Isn't that the right we should have as wizards? If you don't have enough time for your own research, can you just freeload off students' work? Or do you want to gain honor from it? I helped the professor, leaving him speechless. What a sharp guy. Then the teacher signaled that I could leave. I didn't expect him to step in and help me. Right after that, he greeted me. I don't know why either. Whatever the case. I still need to thank you, Lucia. The mage practices swinging the sword 10,000 times every day, even though there's no innate talent. Such extreme effort will make up for all the shortcomings. Meanwhile, what happened at the academy has also reached the royal family. This person is an imperial officer. Sinclair, Duke of Cloche, is a master of spiritual artifacts. He holds the list of all academy members. Those with talent will be recruited by the empire, but before other families do. They also noticed Everlast Company's latest creation, and named it the Eternal Potion. It can be commercialized quickly. Currently monopolizing its sales, meanwhile, the assistant brought back some samples. Sinclair looked at the potion in his hand. He didn't expect it was created by a first-year student. If he achieved this in his first year, there will definitely be many trying to recruit him after graduation. Then he drank the potion. In just an instant, he felt his stamina restored by 80%, which astonished him. It's several times more efficient than the currently available drugs on the market, and has no side effects. If they successfully commercialize it, it will revolutionize the market. It seems we need to pay attention to this student. He's a rare talent. However, the assistant mentioned the potion is a co-creation, which intrigued the Duke. He was startled when he saw the man's name. Hain, Cromwell's son. Does he have a talent for making potions too? The assistant noted he doesn't seem like someone who could make potions, and there are rumors he took advantage of Lucia. But why is his name on it, especially with no special relationship between the two families? It seems their relationship needs to be investigated. If he also has this kind of talent, then try to recruit him. Meanwhile, inside the Imperial Palace, this person is the controller of the Empire. Because he also learned about the man. It made him incredibly excited. Things are getting more and more interesting. The work behind the Cromwell family is all his doing. Then let me see what makes you different from your father, Andreas. Cromwell, will the man become a plaything for the nobles? The scene shifts. At this moment, the man is still practicing tirelessly. He has now swung the sword 999 times in a row because a mage who can't fight up close isn't a good mage. With the final swing, today's task of swinging the sword 10,000 times is complete. Then I collapse directly onto the ground. Although it's just a simple sword swing, the exertion is astonishing. Without recovery potions, I definitely couldn't achieve this. The regeneration potion speeds up my muscle recovery. The recovery potion took care of my fatigue. By adding a physical enhancement potion, I basically created a system that allows for endless training. Choosing the evolution specialty was a gamble, but it's clear it was the right choice. After using the potion for a while, I decided to improve it, as I was worried the mana effects wouldn't be enough. Even though it's already a mid-tier potion now. After my continuous experiments, it's clear my worries were unnecessary. Its effect has already reached its maximum potential. It will be difficult to improve further until I reach an advanced alchemy lab. I can try to make more potions. This idea is correct. I can now create different kinds of potions with greatly improved success rate and speed. If I maintain this growth rate and do my best, I can become strong before Sharon is killed. What I need now is to find enough lawyers C. This way, I won't have to worry about combat power anymore. Unexpectedly, Sharon hasn't been home recently, preventing me from giving him the lazy remnant to research. And not even a greeting when leaving. Could the Dark Wizard be plotting something? Let's call it a day since there's a botany class in the morning. The scene shifts to the next day. When I arrived at the classroom, it was empty. Meanwhile, I noticed a notice posted on the board. Today's class has been moved outdoors, and we need to use tablets for the lesson. Damn it, Vauban is such a shameless guy. He knows I don't have a tablet. Is he trying to use this to get close to me? What exactly is he planning? Then I hurriedly headed to the location. When the man arrived, he found everyone busy. It looked like an exam. When Vauban saw me, he came up to greet me, and said I was late. I can tell he wants to get close to me. This person is really thick-skinned. Then Lucia suddenly pulled me around, saying there was a question she needed me to explain. So she took out today's lecture content. I helped him discover a kind of awakening potion, and then he asked us to test and analyze it. That made me feel strange. He already developed the potion. Why does he still need us to analyze the ingredients? Is he just showing off? At the same time, he walked up to me and said, "For someone as smart as you, figuring out the potion's components and ratios should be easy, right? This damn guy is clearly picking a fight. If you aren't a genius, today your true self will be revealed. Prove to us that you're not a worthless student." After my continuous analysis, 4 hours passed in the blink of an eye. When he saw the results in front of him, he was shocked. Andreas, 2 hours, 4 minutes, and 33 seconds. The proctor stated there was no cheating involved. Nobody present could believe it, so Andreas truly has a talent for potion making. Well done, Seaweed Head. Immediately, a voice interrupted everyone. A chubby guy rushed towards me for help, constantly sobbing, and said, "Why are you claiming the potion I made is yours?" I immediately had a bad feeling. Everyone was shocked upon hearing this. That man has the eyes of an eagle. He can see things clearly even from miles away. Just now, a fat guy rushed up and questioned me. Why did you steal his research? You should know better than anyone how hard I've worked. Everyone was shocked to hear that. They couldn't believe the teacher would do such a thing and asked if Grove was mistaken. Then I signaled to Lucia, thinking that if it was Professor Woban, it was very likely his doing. Immediately I stepped forward, as I also believed he would definitely do such a thing. I promptly stated I had a question about the potion's ingredients. But he said it wasn't the right time. However, he could solve the current problem. If the potion was made by you, you should be able to prove its ingredients and proportions again. Woban instantly sensed trouble. Grove suddenly realized that this was their test for him to pass the mage's tower. If you really made the potion, you should be able to explain what materials you used. Or are you not confident enough? At this moment, Vauban is still pretending to be calm, claiming he is a renowned professor at Roudern Academy. Then I asked him why he changed the upstream twig petals to dried fruit petals. Vauban is very nervous at this moment because he forgot to check yesterday, so please answer, Professor. Seeing he couldn't answer, the chubby one spoke up, saying it's to reduce costs by using petals. We can lower costs. If you invented it you would know. Well, I still have some questions about proportions, and his answers were flawless. Next, I have one last question. Why do you use expensive scallions instead of cheap papayas? Looking at the dumbfounded Vauban, people below were discussing, wondering if he really couldn't answer. He even claimed his students' research results as his own. At this moment, Vauban only felt his head buzzing, completely blank. With the last bit of his brain cells, he thought of some explanation. Then he loudly stated, "Because papaya powder has a substitution effect. That's why beetle powder is used instead, despite being more expensive." But the chubby guy says that's not the reason he doesn't use papaya powder. The reason is that during the potion-making process, prolonged heating causes papaya powder to change in quality. Consuming it can cause stomach pain. But Vauban insists it's definitely due to the hallucinogens effect. Meanwhile, Grove remembers something from some time ago. While doing research, Vauban told him the powder had side effects. But he didn't mention it was hallucinogenic. So can you explain how this answer came about? At this moment, Vauban fell into the pit he dug himself. Immediately, the classmates all accused him of being a hypocrite. They never expected he would steal his own student's promise. Upon hearing this, Vauban flew into a rage. He accused the two of conspiring to deceive him and threatened to report them to the disciplinary committee. However, at this moment, he still hadn't understood the situation. It seems he won't cry until he sees the coffin. Since you're so angry, I can arrange for Count Alvin to give you a place to explain yourself. Hearing this, he was instantly stunned. Then I took out the Alvin family's VIP card. Only Lucia knows it's just a regular shopping card. But Vauban will definitely fall for it. At this moment, he is already terrified and anxious. His legs are trembling constantly. It seems he's very afraid of Bart. The next second, he collapses directly onto the ground. And all of this is witnessed by Bart. This guy named Vauban, since he caused such a commotion, he must pay the price for it. That brat dared to use my name, he's got some nerve. But thinking about Andreas getting excited over research, since he knows the principles and ingredients behind the awakening potion, he might very well discover a new drug by the end of the year. Bart is eager to see how far Andreas will grow. After all, he is Kane's son. The scene shifts to the academy cafeteria. At this moment, the man is fulfilling the previous invitation and treating Lucia to a meal. Lucia just didn't expect it to be in the academy cafeteria, you stingy guy. Then he immediately reached out for the food. The next second, he was yelling in pain from the heat. Don't you, a rich lady, know how to eat at a buffet? Now watch how I do it. Take the back part. Then dip it in your favorite sauce. And now you can eat it. Looking at the meat in front of him, he realized that he had never been to a buffet before. Then he accepted the meat. Watching their actions, Vivian's jealousy was almost spilling off the screen. At that moment, he also expressed his desire. And the man was suddenly stunned. Watching Vivian's gestures, the man couldn't believe his eyes. Is this still the Vivian who was called a lunatic? Looks like I changed his character trajectory. But that's okay. A moment later, when a few people came out, Lucia was arguing loudly that I should buy a tablet. If it happens like today again, you'll still miss the class. But I spent all my money on training, now I don't have much left. Meanwhile, Vivian kept thinking about today's meal. Mr. Ferry even gave him extra meat. Then Vivian said that if Mr. Ferry was short on funds, he could help pay. As repayment for last time. At the same time, I hurriedly declined and said that I wasn't any Mr. Ferry, but a woman's intuition could tell that the man was lying at that moment. When we reached an intersection, I hinted that since there was still time, I would leave first. Well then, see you tomorrow. Then I walked into this alley, which seemed bright. I must quickly resolve the issue of laziness and lingering tasks. Because I'm still too weak right now. If I encounter a powerful creature like a vampire, I wouldn't even have a chance to resist. At that moment, someone was walking toward me. When I saw his face, it turned out to be Karen. He had finally returned. Then I woke up to him. Then he said to meet him at his lab tomorrow noon. It seems he's in a good mood after his trip, but for me, he returned just in time. It's time to move on to the next step. This seemingly crazy old man is actually one of the top 10 figures on the continent. Even taboo wizards would avoid him. Before that, the next morning, I arrived at Alvin's Weapons City. Now I need a suitable longsword to prepare for the next step. Regarding laziness, Karen is the kind of person who believes everything I have is his, so I have no doubt he would try to reason to take laziness from me. Meanwhile, a voice interrupted me. When I turned around, it was Diana, holding a sword, asking what I was doing here. I replied that I was choosing a suitable weapon, which puzzled him. Does a mage need a sword? At least having a sword for self-defense is a good thing. Looking at the box in his hand, he explained it was a gift from his brother. He must be talking about Carlos. Alvin, he is the eldest son of the Alvin family. He left home to gain experience, and became a warrior. We used to get along very well. But Carlos was already dead when the game started, it's just that the game concealed that part of the story. If I remember correctly, he died during the Academy's year-end event. After Hazal escaped from the territory of Baron Barorik, he joined a heretical sect, Sefaro. A sect that specializes in orchestrating devastating attacks. It was then that he led the followers to launch an assault on the Academy. I then asked if Carlos had participated in the year-end event. He nodded. Looking at me now, he was convinced that I had undergone a massive transformation. And everyone was talking about it. This made him even more certain, and he wanted to know why I had changed. But at that moment, he was very nervous. He didn't know how to ask me, and then he started talking to himself, which puzzled the man. When the man interrupted him, he quickly said it was nothing, which made him feel very awkward. Then the man said goodbye to him. As they were leaving, he was still thinking about whether to ask. At that moment, he stopped in his tracks, but found the man was no longer there. This left him speechless. The scene shifts and I'm heading to Corona, considering after Carlos. There's still some time before the terrifying event occurs. Can I save it? A moment later, I arrived at the academy's teaching department. At this moment, Carlo was narrating that he searched the entire road without finding a sample like Angela. So far, nothing has been achieved. And said that it will take some time next? Because at this weekend's party, such things will be needed. I was surprised to hear this, as the party is where the game begins. It's time to show some diligence. If he's blinded by greed and I give it to him directly, then I've won. I immediately said there is an important matter to discuss with the teacher. But Carlo doesn't seem interested in someone small like me. He wouldn't care at all as I wandered around. I found the Codex of Revelation, which left Carlo stunned. Judging by his expression, he must be feeling very complicated and excited inside. But I know he won't show it. Clearly, he takes this as a joke, and someone like me couldn't possibly recognize something so precious. He immediately said, "Don't talk nonsense. That's not something someone like you can get." Then I acted very flustered. Summoning the warehouse treasure indicates this isn't something I can handle. At this moment, Carlo is extremely nervous, his heart in his throat. When I took out the lazy residue from the warehouse, he was utterly shocked, his eyes wide to confirm. This is the legendary Apocalypse Codex residue. Then I offered it to him with both hands, but Carlo remained unmoved. He swallowed, yet gestured for me to keep it myself, saying it's a highly sought-after item. It would be troublesome to carry it around, but we can bring it to the church. That way, we can exchange it for something we want. Old thief, I knew you'd say that. You always put your own interests first. How could the guards not be tempted? Meanwhile, he mentioned that we are attending a gathering this weekend, and asked me to free up some time and be ready to leave at any moment. The scene shifts to 2 days later. At this moment, I am already at the eastern edge of the city, in the forbidden zone for human activity. Carlo has already informed the church about the lazy residue. Although I didn't let Carlo become suspicious. But now the issue is going to the religious place where there are many dangers. Words cannot move them. So I must negotiate as safely as possible. Look at Carlo's expression. He seems to be scheming something. As I expected, he's thinking about how to use the sloth residue to exchange for things that help him grow, at any cost. He's completely sure the sloth residue is already his. He lets me hold it because when the crucial moment comes, he'll use me as a shield. What a clever calculation. At that moment, the carriage experienced a violent jolt. Then it came to a stop. Through the skeletal soldier's actions, someone managed to control the horse. Meanwhile, he took off his cloak as he walked. From the tattoo on his arm, he looked like someone of great importance. He then mentioned he was also going to the church and hoped for a ride. When I saw his face clearly, I was instantly shocked. It was him. Moments later, he was comfortably lying in the seat. It feels good to have a car. This person is Salem Edidia, one of the top 10 strongmen of the continent. To explore, he even deals with the forbidden. Therefore, he is called the Devil in Pursuit of Truth. If the information about the lazy remnants is leaked, things could get bad. Meanwhile, Karen was showing a very unlucky expression. But what Salem said startled him. From the moment you got in the car, you've been making this face. Are you dissatisfied with me? Chiron quickly explained. Seeing his nervousness, Salem couldn't help but laugh and said not to worry. That so-called church. He's been there more than 10 times. I know he's crazy, but I didn't expect it to this extent. Then he noticed me and asked my name. After getting Chiron's permission, I said Andreas Cromwell, when CI showed a very surprised expression and said, "So you caught another Cromwell?" At that moment, I didn't understand what he was talking about, but the way he spoke suggested that the Cromwell family had some sort of secret. Seeing my calm demeanor, he knew I probably didn't know anything. Then he stepped forward and patted my shoulder, offering me a special piece of advice. He told me to strive as much as possible, while Karen had a gloomy face, and his expression told me that now I shouldn't ask any questions. So, what exactly is Sharon hiding from me? At the same time, a mysterious object appeared in the distance. The skeleton soldiers immediately noticed. When Sharon looked with his mind, a blob of liquid slowly rose. It was laughing ominously. Then it took on a human shape. It was Dragon. What plan is he scheming? In this crazy world to survive, I'm willing to make myself crazy. Just now, our carriage was stopped by Dragon. At that moment, he had a confident expression, as if calculating something. But seeing Salem, he was terrified. He never expected that Salem would appear with us. It was probably Durando's idea, but he didn't expect we would be with him. After a moment, everyone found the location for this church gathering. Sir Entime noticed we arrived and sent a signal. He guided us to the church. Salem remarked why he chose such a high place. It was very inconvenient, and at the same time, he sensed other presences. Then he showed a very excited expression. There are a lot of rats here. Sharon and Dragon were also taken aback. These very greedy black mages seemed to need a lesson. He then took out the fist from his back. Seeing this, the two were at a loss for words. Are these people crazy? Salem dares to target Tenyi here. Sure enough, a large group of people were ambushed in the woods. Then they immediately took action. But he wouldn't fear these two vines. Now let's see how many dark mages there are. The staff was seen piercing straight into the ground. The aura instantly cleared the surrounding control. In an instant, his magical detection covered the surrounding area. No one's core could escape his detection. Even I am no exception. At the same time, their positions were all exposed. Only 7 of them? Then, the hide-and-seek ends here. At this moment, his expression is unusually excited, like a beast spotting its prey. In the next second, he disappears with a single leap. The dark mage realizes someone has vanished. Only then does he realize their positions have been exposed. It's too late to run. When they turn around, they find that person right behind them. Then the game ends here. Immediately, Salem activates a skill. A mushroom cloud appears in the forest. Even the distant church experiences a violent tremor. This makes them very curious. Who has such powerful destructive force? Moments later, the door slowly opens. Salem greets Morse. Everyone was surprised that it turned out to be this monster. Then he said that if it weren't for me, you probably wouldn't even see a trace of the remaining industry. Immediately after, he asked me to open the bag, and one by one, letters from lawyers appeared before them. Upon seeing this, several people were startled. But the clown said this is an emergency meeting, we don't have many people to begin with, and there's no need for unnecessary murder, pointing at Salem. These are high-level black wizards, difficult to deal with in the game. Salem tried to deal with them by unleashing his magic. He truly is a force to be reckoned with. But the clown said now is not the time for arguments, and simultaneously asked me to take out the lazy remaining industry. Then, to get Karen's approval, I then summoned the warehouse, and at that moment, Salem was eyeing me because he found Andreas very interesting. The man did not back down even after witnessing such a bloody scene. And cutting watermelons wasn't of any use either. More importantly, he also realized the man had dual characteristics just like him. This astonished him. When I was about to reach for the remaining tasks, he quietly came up behind me. He gently blew on my neck. I was startled by this sudden action, and then he confessed that he had started to like me. At this moment, I was so scared that I broke out in a cold sweat. Could it be that Salem in the game is gay? This made Merce very angry. Even the Joker said this was no time for jokes. But he quietly said he would definitely help me once someday, but only once. Just as if to help Andreas, the little kitten, because he has some connection to the Cromwell family. I was suddenly taken aback by this. This is his promise. Salem in the game is a man who never breaks his word. No matter what it is, as long as he promises, he keeps his word. If I have his help now, I need to change the previous plan. Meanwhile, the skeleton slowly walked out, looking at the sloth relic in his hand. There's no doubt it is indeed the true relic of the Codex. Watching the skeleton I summoned, Sharon was amazed, because I had been hiding it from him. Salem examined the relic, thinking it must be very durable. At this moment, I felt very nervous. One wrong step and I'd be doomed, but I must calm down. Now, with pairs of eyes staring straight at me, I don't want to take risks with those monsters. I can't hesitate. Not even a little. The air around is unusually calm at this moment. Just then, I tried to squeeze the skeleton and immediately went back. In an instant, he disappeared in front of everyone. When they realized it, it was too late. At the same time, I quickly drew my sword. When they saw my actions, each of them showed a different expression. In disbelief. Extremely scared. And very interesting, even Salem was suddenly taken aback. A long sword pierced at the position of my heart. It has already penetrated my chest. I could easily push it through my heart with just a little force. Everyone held their breath. Then the clown asked me what I was doing and if there was anything we could negotiate. So I hope my efforts can be recognized, once he understands what I want. Meanwhile, Morsh is quietly casting a spell, trying to control me from behind. However, they all underestimated me. At that moment, I glanced around. The lazy sludge and skeleton soldiers are in my summoning vault, so if I die, you'll never get the complete penalty. Then I told Salem, you promised to help me once, and now is the time. At this moment, I don't have much time because my wound can't wait too long. Once he expressed surprise at my recklessness, just because of a few words I said. If I lied to you, what would you do? If that's true, it means I would die. In this crazy world of life and death, I am willing to make myself crazy. This stunned them all. Then Salem said, "What an interesting person. I did tell you to fight, but didn't expect to go this far." Meanwhile, he took out the scepter. His magic was constantly spreading, and everyone was very scared to see it. Then they turned into many long snakes. "If you insist, then I have no choice but to kill everyone present. This is a talking black eagle. His identity is remembered by all. Even the strongest are no exception." Just now, Salem agreed to my request, then raised the scepter, and declared from now on, "Anyone who dares to touch Cromwell will die." At this point, little Raleigh first said he wouldn't touch him because it became more interesting for him. "If anyone still dares to question this, then I will kill them immediately." Then the clown said, "Are you really going to oppose us for a child?" Salem laughed and said, "You should know my nature. Do you think I would lie like this?" Just then, Morsh expressed doubt about this and said, "Don't joke around." In the next second, Salem released a terrifying killing intent. "Damn it, do I need to repeat myself?" The two of them didn't dare to make a sound at this moment. Karen was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat because the man could crush him in an instant if he spoke. But little Rory watched with great interest and said it was excellent, and the big guy had no objections. Meanwhile, the Joker said, "Can you give me satisfactory compensation?" That's when I realized and immediately drew my longsword. Then I drank a potion of recovery. A moment later, I collected myself. "Now it's time to negotiate properly." He hinted at what I wanted the most. "They need to make an offer first." I then indicated what this could be exchanged for. And the Joker, being very clever, said, "Don't you know what you need? So let me give you the opportunity to choose." At the same time, he summoned a scroll and let me choose 5 from it. Indeed a cunning guy. If I don't recognize it, won't I suffer? This is the church, so they must have some good lawyers. I immediately checked the materials, and some familiar names quickly caught my attention. The former, Millen and the Tiger King Timer, these are top-notch materials. I must have them. At that moment, Big Guy reminded Jester that those bodies had already been sold to Morn. If given to someone else, he would definitely be furious. Hearing this, I was immediately shocked. Morn is a big figure in the dark wizard world. These items have already been purchased by him. If I provoke him now, things will get very troublesome. Damn it, I have no choice but to give up. Meanwhile, a voice interrupted everyone. Everyone was stunned by the voice. It was Moan's voice. When they looked, it turned out to be a zombie insect making the sound. Apparently, he had observed everything that happened here, and then he expressed his permission for me to take those things away. However, Sharon said that I didn't have the ability to handle those materials yet. But Moan told him not to worry about that, and that I could take away everything in my storage bag. This made me very puzzled. I didn't know why Moan was being so generous, but I couldn't let this opportunity slip away. Then I expressed my deep gratitude to him, saying, "Thank you for your generosity, sir. I will now choose the remaining items." At this moment, Sharon deeply regretted not bringing more remains himself, and could only grit his teeth and watch as I took the benefits away. A moment later, I selected the most valuable things to me: Moon's Blessing, Orchid Silver Flowers, Fairy Type, Medicinal Soldier Ginseng, and Kaidanung Gems. At that moment, Salem reminded me that there were better things. Was I sure I wanted these? I then stored them in my pouch, and mentioned that while they weren't the best, they were the most beneficial for my current growth. I could use them to make 4 potions, and their value would multiply exponentially, reaching hundreds of millions. Finally, I helped Lucia pick the raw materials to cure her illness. The Jester indicated that I could now hand over the remaining tasks. Right after, I opened the summoning warehouse again. He swiftly and decisively took everything, and Norsh was ready for any coincidence. Afraid I would set another fire. At that moment, Salem came up behind me. I was completely unprepared. In the next second, I was grabbed and sent flying, and they could only watch as I left. Seeing their reactions, after handing over the sin of sloth to them, they didn't intend to let me go. It was only natural for Salem to feel frustrated. "So, where are we going next? You said you'd take me to a safe place." I thought about it, and it's best to go back to the academy first. It's the safest place. Let's head to the nearest train station. Then he asked if Bart knew about my identity as a dark wizard. If he knew, I wouldn't be alive. Fate is a strange thing, isn't it? But right now, I don't understand what he means. He said when the time comes, I will naturally understand, just like when I told you on the way here to keep striving. As long as you survive, you'll discover who you are. What he's saying is probably the story behind the Cromwell family. Things are getting more and more complicated. I must become stronger quickly. The scene shifts, and I appear in the student dormitory. Thinking about how such a big thing can fit inside, the space pocket is really convenient. So, how should I handle these two materials next? I have no choice. Although I can successfully summon Ye. For now, with these two, it's best to improve my necromancy. Turning them into advanced summons is the only way to unleash their value. I can only temporarily place them in the summoning space. At the same time, I discovered there was also a book in the bag. This made me curious because I didn't choose a book as a reward. Could it have always been in the storage bag? When I picked it up to look, it turned out to be Moan's Book of Dark Magic, a high-level skill book personally written by Moan. Upon reviewing, it contained a lot of knowledge I couldn't find in the library at Karen. If I learn this knowledge, I can turn the materials I obtained today into advanced summoning. So why did it give me this book? It seems like it has a special concern for Andreas. At the same time, a prompt came up regarding Nir's attributes. The skeleton's legendary evolution chance has reached 100%. I've always wondered when I could evolve it, but it seems to be happening sooner than I expected. And all I did was let it hold on to the lazy sin item. It seems the sin item affects evolution, but now's not the time to think about that. Now, let's level up Nir, and then I'll confirm the evolution. Looking at Nir's reaction, it doesn't seem to be suffering like a vampire would. Perhaps it's because it's a skeleton. Just then, my room door was suddenly knocked, which startled me. Who could it be at this moment? Immediately, I packed everything up. Lucia, judging by her reaction, is there something good happening? Then she asked me to go with her. The scene shifts, and Salem has already appeared at Moan's place. Salem mentioned there's a strange question. Why did you reveal the news about the lazy remnant? Moan replied, isn't the answer obvious? This left Salem speechless. I didn't expect I would become a bodyguard. Then he couldn't help but laugh. You've taken good care of Cain. You've even taken great care of his son. Wasn't his father framed by the Empire? And it was because of your relationship. Then Moan started talking about the origins of necromancy. It was originally a pursuit of immortality. Or more precisely, the pursuit of immortality for the ones you love. It originated from the desire to have your loved ones accompany you forever. This left Salem feeling quite confused. Salem then said, you should understand what I just said. It seems you have connections with the Cromwell family, other than Cain. This secret seems hard to uncover from you, even if I force you. Meanwhile, Moon asked Salem his opinion on Andreas. This made him complain, weren't you on the scene? But he indeed is a very interesting person. No, I should say the craziest person in the world. Crazier than me. A seemingly ordinary contract. Made me a millionaire overnight. Before that, I followed Lucia to his home. This person is his father, William Everlast. Hollington came all the way here for the preliminary settlement of potion profits. When it comes to interests, face-to-face negotiation is better. William said that from now on, we are already partners. And you're still a good friend of Lucia's. Thank you so much for taking care of her. I immediately said that it was Lucia who helped me and provided such a good deal. Lucia proudly stated, you should be grateful to me. The deal was guaranteed by me. Then William handed me the contract and asked me to review it carefully, especially the terms and the split. I took the contract and quickly browsed through it. So I get 60% of the profits, with each share worth 3 million. So the final amount I get is over 1.8 billion. At this moment, my eyes widened. I've never seen that much money in my life. I didn't expect that in just 1 month. Over 1,000 pieces have been sold. William said that sales are currently going well. Once the reputation builds up, it might double. At this moment, I was already absorbed in the contract. I've been staring at the contract. This made William chuckle and suggest putting work aside for now, as it's almost lunchtime. And this is Lucia's first time bringing a friend home as a guest, so I'm looking forward to hearing your stories. Most importantly, it's a boy. I felt uneasy, fearing there might be a misunderstanding. The scene shifts to several days later. Thanks to people's discussions, the Eternal Potion is very popular in the market. It's used not only in battles but is also popular among the upper class. In order to increase production, the trading company decided to expand its suppliers and production facilities. In just a short period of time, they sold over 2,000 units. If I had known this would happen, I would have bought a tablet earlier. After all, you can find a lot of useful information on it. That way, I wouldn't be behind on the news. But to be honest, thanks to the potion's popularity, I've received more support from the nobility. Now I have 6 billion on me. The Cromwell family inheritance is worth 3.5 billion. Including fees, even if I buy it back, I'll still have a lot of assets left. But before that, I need to get the family ring back. The scene shifts. Now I'm already at the law firm's management group. Before this, I had made preparations in case Paimon tried to deceive me. I contacted him earlier via tablet. He's been waiting at the door for some time, but someone else is with him. This immediately put me on alert. He immediately invited me inside the house. I promptly asked who the person next to him was, and he replied sternly. To prevent future issues, he was the guarantor to make the transaction more secure. Fortunately, I was well prepared, so I wasn't afraid of him. Moments later, we found ourselves inside. A guarantor holding a sword and wearing a mask, such an obvious lie. I knew Paimon had been practicing necromancy here for a long time, but he's much weaker in game than Karan, just a minor character. During this time, I've grown considerably, with significant improvements in both talent, skills, and attributes. He's not my match now. Evolved beasts can also use spiritual energy, so unless one is a master of spiritual energy, no one can defeat him. The only question is, how strong is this masked guy? Maybe I should circulate the spiritual energy in my dantian. I've been compressing it due to using magic, but now I'm not sure. Then I hinted he could bring out the ring because I wanted to complete the transaction quickly. But Menai said to be patient. It seems he's waiting for me to raise the stakes. Then I said the corpse I bought from you was ordinary, but since you were so accommodating last time, in exchange I can offer you 5 million as a reward. When Sia was suddenly shocked, with a look of disbelief. But soon, he showed a greedy smile. Look at you, I didn't even notice you've become so impressive, Andreas. Though you're dark and generous, you're still an earl after all. When Sia sighed deeply, it seems he doesn't care about such a small reward. Then he stated, Isn't 5 million a bit harsh? The price of secrecy isn't that low. The damned guy, then I asked. How much were you thinking? He mentioned hearing that I received quite a few benefits from the Pope. Immediately, his gaze turned to my storage bag. As a trade-off, taking 2 items shouldn't be too much, right? However, at this moment, I was very calm because I had long expected him to have such ideas. I then smiled and remarked that the tea here is indeed good. I will only say this once, 5 million as compensation, that's it. Wensi was furious. It sounds like you don't understand what I am saying. I said I know what you're up to. And I also know you never intended to trade fairly from the start. At this moment, he also wore a sullen face. The mask is hard to adapt to. It seems the negotiation is over. Indeed, I'm a bit tired of this pretense. At that moment, they were taken aback. Because it's the first time they've seen a skeleton regrow flesh. Affected by the remnants of laziness, the skeleton now carries ghost attributes, and has reached a mid-level. But Paimon didn't show any sign of backing down. It's a trophy from the giant man, split it half and half. Take that kid down right away. Before the words even finished, Nai appeared behind him in just a single breath. At the same time, the masked man also noticed. Turning around, 2 swords clashed fiercely. Since you're so determined, then let's settle this with our skills. This was nothing but a dead skeleton. However, it not only reformed its flesh but also developed a dantian. At the same time, Nya suddenly attacked from behind Paimon. Masked Man quickly reacted to block the attack. This shocked Masked Man, a skeleton with such speed. Paimon was also startled. Any slower, and he'd have lost his head. The Masked Man's cloak flew towards me, but to me, it was just a trick. I saw many years hidden within the cloak. These are tricks commonly used in games. I'm almost tired of using them. I swung my sword to clear him before he could start. This made me quite frustrated. He not only stopped Nye's assault but also controlled me. Ordinary people can't do this. Who exactly is this guy? At this moment, the two stood facing each other, imposing. A flash of sword light broke through the air, and the blade's light followed. A piercing sound emanates from the sheath. The swordsman flickers, relying on his combat expertise. Immediately, the sword in his hand rises with the wind, turning into a silver streak. It thrusts straight toward Nya. Nya reacts quickly, but his cheek is still grazed by the sword. However, the masked man's footwork shows a flaw, and Nya grabs his leg. At that moment, he tenses up. Not good. In the next second, Nya's skeletal hand flings him away, taking advantage of its aerial delay, unable to move. At this moment, Nya has already gathered spiritual energy on the sword. Then a white sword light burst forth. Entered the battlefield this time. Seeing this, I was very puzzled. Nya can infuse the sword with spiritual energy, regained after evolving with Dan Iron. Seeing Nya use spiritual energy is not surprising. But is the masked man really that powerful? At this moment, I'm becoming more curious about his body. The masked man now shows a hint of surprise, but he refuses to back down. He charges at Nya's skeleton like a flash of lightning. The two clash once again, and for a moment, only the sound of their weapons colliding fills the room. The masked man is slightly outmatched, with multiple injuries appearing on his body. Then Nya's skeleton lunges forward for a swift attack. The masked man seems to have anticipated his attack, quickly stepping back. At this moment, Nyarlathotep showed a gap in its attack, which he seized upon as a flaw. Then he launched a move, announcing directly, piercing Nyarlathotep. Did it succeed? But the next second, he showed a look of terror. Nyarlathotep was like a ghost, freely shuttling, directly slipping through his sword. In an instant, it advanced right in front of him, and he had no time to dodge. At that moment, Nyarlathotep's legs turned solid and delivered a blow from the sides. In the blink of an eye, the masked man crashed through the table behind him, heading straight for the window. When I looked outside, he was unbelievably still standing. It turns out Paimon summoned the undead to catch the masked man, then indicated that if he wanted more money, he would have to work harder. Seeing this, I dared not act recklessly. Damn it, he summoned the undead while I was distracted. Seeing the strength of the skeleton made him greedy. Sure enough, everything obtained from the cult is good stuff. At this moment, he had only one thought, to kill me and take everything for himself. He then unleashed undead magic again, and a skeleton army appeared from the summoning space. Even the legal documents on the ground were summoned by him. Countless skeleton soldiers rose from the ground, surrounding the house. Damn bastards! Then I signaled Nir to split up. As long as we kill Paimon, we can break the current situation. A group of skeletons suddenly charged into the room, while I leaped up, quickly breaking out of their encirclement. Then I entered watermelon slicing mode. But there were too many of them. In no time, they cut off my escape route. I immediately released the earth shield, and a wall of earth quickly rises. In an instant it shatters. Meanwhile, a skeleton on the other side also attacks me. Although these minions can't deal lethal damage to me, they will eventually wear me down. At this moment, I gather smoke and try to pursue, launching another attack. No, I need to find a breakthrough, but unexpectedly, an archer skeleton ambushes me. However, I sensed it in advance. As the attack comes, I sweep across and cut down all the arrows. Then I caught their sword swap attack. A crouching dash cut them down with one slash. Meanwhile, Paimon kept summoning, surprised that they couldn't beat a child. But the next second, they felt a chill at the back of their neck. Nye's skeleton swung straight at them. 4 masked men defended. All had to praise him, but the next second Nye's skeleton sensed something wrong. Unexpectedly, the swordsman also launched a sneak attack. A violent sound was emitted, and Nye was blown several meters away. On the other side, I was still fighting relentlessly. Damn it, the skeleton soldiers won't even give me a moment to breathe. I don't even have time to use a recovery potion. At this rate, things might get really bad. At this moment, I'm almost exhausted. Yet I didn't notice Nye's presence. Just as I got distracted, a skeleton lunged at me. I raised my hand and hit its helmet. My whole body went numb, as if every muscle was torn. At the same time, a zombie skeleton attacked. A glob of phlegm-like acid came at me. My cloak was instantly corroded. Damn it. I still have to wait for Nyen to come back, and I don't know if I can hold on until then. Suddenly, a shadow loomed over me, making me feel uneasy. When I looked up, it was an ultimate skeleton warrior. The axe in his hand was swinging right at me. I quickly raised my sword to block it. But I was struggling. I was being pushed far back and was barely holding on. Then I delivered an uppercut to his jaw. The axe in his hand flew away. But it obviously didn't cause any harm to him, and at this moment, I also distanced myself from the skeleton. Now my vision is blurred because my stamina has been drained. Just then, the skeleton soldier suddenly appeared in front of me. He used his skull to hit my head, and I just felt a roaring sound and lost consciousness. The scene changed, and at this moment, he continued to expose me to violence. Am I going to die here, at the hands of a skeleton soldier? If I die here, who will take care of you? And what about Lucia's illness? And Wei Weiyan? Yet the man didn't know why he thought of these things. He muddled through most of his life. Never thought about these matters. But now, I finally have a reason to live. I can't just die like this. Meanwhile, after the skeleton's fierce attack, the spiritual energy in the man's body has reached the spiritual realm. At this moment, his dantian is subdued. Now he can circulate spiritual energy due to the dual core feature. Magic and spiritual energy can now be used simultaneously. The man then picked up his sword again, because he still had to go back to the place that belongs to him. This is a mask that can change its appearance. Even his own mother wouldn't recognize him with it on. Just now, when I cleansed myself again, the nearby undead had been cleared by Nye, but I was gravely injured. Paimon was also controlled by the masked man, which means the mask is hard to hate the Northwest. I then slowly walked over and asked him to hand over my ring. Paimon was extremely terrified and suggested putting the sword away to talk things over. Now that someone has died, we can negotiate a better deal. Looking at the masked man's lawyer's letter on the ground, I wondered what would happen next. What I should do now is clean up the scene and not leave anything related to me. Then I picked up the masked man's sword. It's better to use this guy's sword. At this moment, Paimon still can't figure out the situation. This was clearly a good deal, but greed blinded him. Still want to bargain? I immediately swung my sword and cut off his arm. Pay a price for your actions. Then I said I wasn't interested in discussing it further, while Paimon howled in pain. Mentioned the bottom drawer of the cabinet at home. But at that moment, he kept twitching, which made me realize something was wrong. Then suddenly, he started bleeding. Seeing him suffer, it felt like he was suffocating. This makes me feel very confused. The next second he rolled his eyes directly. He lay on the ground, motionless. I was going to teach him a lesson first, but this is fine too. I planned to get rid of him eventually. Then I looked at the sword in my hand. It was covered in giant bone. A skilled swordsman with a single sword. Who exactly is this guy? At the same time, I recalled what Paimon just said about Mosey Dan. Could it be the Bloody Dan? If that's true, then his mask is a valuable thing. Then I took off his mask. Just as I thought, his appearance had changed. I immediately put on the mask. In just a moment, my appearance transformed. I looked like a completely different person. This is indeed a good item. And this confirms one thing. This guy is the Bloody Dan, the one who instigated the war in the game. In the late game, he will be hired to kidnap the northern barbarian leader's child. This will trigger a war between the North and the Empire, and then the conflict will spread across the entire continent. And I was dragged into this. Unexpectedly, I ended him. Maybe this will stop the war. In that case, I'll take this mask. The Bloody Dan. Meanwhile, I told Necro to retrieve the hidden ring. Next, I need to clean up this entire mess. The scene shifts, and I find myself in a hospital. Yesterday's events have made the news. Necromancer Paimon had a dispute with the swordsman he hired. The two disappeared without a trace. Luckily, half of the fight scene was cleaned up. Looks like I won't be affected. So now it's time to handle the most important thing. $2.5 billion, including paid fees and taxes. It has finally returned to the Cromwell family once again. I'm looking forward to seeing Amy's reaction when she finds out. Meanwhile, someone is quietly sneaking up behind me. Then a pair of hands covered my eyes from behind and said, "Guess who?" I was speechless at the moment, but I made no sound. Even after a moment, I still made no sound. You're so dull. Why are you reacting so slowly, even from your cute backside? Seeing the fruit in their hand, I immediately expressed my gratitude. But Lucia didn't seem satisfied with that answer. What else could I say? Then he asked what happened and why I was in the hospital. I could only make up an excuse that it was due to overtraining, though my training opponent was a bit strong. At that moment, the door opened again. It was Vivian. Why did he look so flustered? When he entered, he saw I was covered in injuries. This left him momentarily stunned. Mr. Fairy, at this moment Vivian couldn't believe everything in front of her. Her heart was filled with worry and fear. The spy quickly ran towards me. This made Lucia pause for a moment too. He directly pounced on me, and I was also startled by his sudden reaction. He then expressed his concern sadly, which made him feel very scared. Seeing this, I understood that his character's trajectory seemed to have completely changed from the game. I comforted him, saying that I was in good health now, but he still couldn't be reassured. Meanwhile, Lucia looks at everything in front of her. Is this what heartbreak feels like? Pain. It hurts so much. The scene shifts to 1 week later. At this moment, I invite Amy, telling him I have something good to show him, which makes him very puzzled. We agreed to just go retrieve the ring, but why close all the windows? So mysterious, and this luxury carriage, how can he afford it? A moment later, the coachman signals that we've arrived. Then my sister asked what we were going to see, and why we had to go so far. I immediately replied, "Dear sister, go down and you'll find out." A familiar voice suddenly came. It startled him. Then the car door slowly opened. It was Lupin. How could he be here? I explained that I invited him back to manage things. My sister nervously said, "We don't have extra money to hire anyone right now. You know that." She quickly explained to Lupin, adding not to take it to heart. When he looked out, he was suddenly stunned by what he saw. Immediately, he slowly got out of the car. At this moment, his eyes were filled with tears. Is this a dream? It's actually the Applewood Villa. This is our home, where we used to live. Meanwhile, Amy asked why I brought him to this place. I immediately took out a contract. You'll understand after reading this. When my sister took the paper, her hands started to tremble. It was a house contract. Did you buy it back? Don't tell me you did something bad to buy it back. I know my sister doesn't believe me, so I told her I invented a potion. That's how I bought our house back. Seeing the news in front of her, Amy finally believed everything I said. You don't need to work at the restaurant anymore. My money will last us a long time. At this moment, my sister was very sad because she didn't know I had always been trying hard. And she got angry with me for so long over a ring and said many hurtful things. Then she apologized to me, her face already streaked with tears. I comforted her by saying I never intended to blame you. Our lives will gradually get better from here on. After many years, Lupin never expected to work here again, and Andreas somewhat resembled the master, which moved her deeply. And I should consider my next steps. Guardian of the Forest Sovereign. In life, it was a presence that even top human warriors dared not provoke. Now it has become my undead. After arranging Cromwell's villa, I let Amy manage it. As for me, I need to enhance my combat abilities. Morn's black magic book has helped me greatly. If I relied on Karen's few books, it would probably take a long time to summon high-level undead. Now that my second trait has awakened, it has also given me a skill to learn necromancy more quickly. The deeper one thinks and explores, the greater the chance of understanding a theory. This is a trait to improve the speed of learning skills and knowledge. Along with Morn's knowledge, I can now attempt to use higher-level undead summons. The Tiger King of the Beast Tribe, Timer, belongs to the undead. It's time to awaken him. Before this, I've attempted dozens of undead summoning. I've also repeatedly checked all potential causes of failure. The success rate of summoning him is at least 70%. So, let's begin. As I start the undead summoning, accompanied by incantations, a summoning target is detected nearby. Moreover, I can now fully utilize dual fusion, and my mana has greatly increased. There's no longer a need to worry about insufficient mana for the summoning. I only need to manipulate spiritual energy to maintain my body. And at this moment, I am also evolving to a higher level. If I add Timer's immense power to this, even if I'm alone, my combat power is equivalent to that of an entire unit. Awaken, noble tiger of the continent that trembles. The body's hand begins to tremble, the summoned being's abilities exceed the summoner's. Stability decreases. Due to the Tiger King's aquatic nature in life, additional effects are applied. As the spell finishes, his eyes suddenly open. Successfully summoned the undead, legendary level. Because of his high level, he automatically evolves into a vengeance warrior. Moreover, his body belongs to a supernatural being, so his flesh wouldn't be discarded like yours. He has regained some of his former dignity. Looking at his attributes, I was astonished. I didn't expect him to directly become a level 5 undead. And he's also gained some self-control and 2 skills. Right after that, he acquired a minor skill. I was suddenly shocked, but luckily I had cast a soundproofing spell. From now on I am your master. Then Tamor bowed to me. With the Tiger King as my fighting force, even if I face Sharon, I will have the power to fight back. Next, it's time for the final exam. I don't think I'll be fired. The scene shifts to Wilbur Mountain, where a large group of students has gathered again. At this moment, the examiner is announcing the exam details. The theme is survival and points. Everyone will spend 72 hours on this mountain. Collect points hidden on the mountain. The bracelet worn will receive the collected points. At the same time, you can also snatch others' points. Everyone is shocked by the announcement. This shows that it's difficult to cooperate with others, and you have to be wary of them. As for me, I was looking for flat terrain to set up camp. At this moment, I was climbing the cliffs of Mount Verbo. A day has passed. There are 2 days left until the end of the exam. I know the mountaintop is a flat area at the peak of the continent. It seems useful for both offense and defense. Setting up a new base here would be a good choice. But when I reached the top, I found someone was already there. It's Diana. How is she here? And she's using both wide area search magic and a barrier. She might be able to protect herself from the blizzard. She can also find her way around, but it's a huge drain on her magic. It's very dangerous because once her magic runs out, it's hard to survive in this icy world. But with her status, perhaps a mentor is watching from afar. Soon, her magic will be nearly depleted. If I take her bracelet now, I can eliminate a powerful rival. But if I get Diana's help, it's a good choice for me. Suddenly, he sensed someone approaching. Seeing how weak he looked, I said, "It seems you've used too much magic. Although it's useful in the early stages, if you recklessly use it in such an environment, you'll cause unnecessary trouble for yourself." Diana was very alert at this moment. "Are you trying to make me lower my guard and then take my bracelet?" It seems he doesn't trust me much now. Magic attacks keep being released. In the next second, his magic power suddenly stopped, which startled him. I mentioned that this would get you in trouble. Now, I have a suggestion. Diana kept stepping back and said I could speak from a distance. This left me speechless. Does she still dislike Andreas that much? Then she signaled to ask what I wanted to do. Seeing this, I slowly took off my hat. I said we could cooperate, as one person's strength is limited, and things can happen. It's easy to get hurt, so isn't it better to have a partner just in case? Diana looked very conflicted. Should I trust him? But you are also very clear about his identity. Thinking about Andreas' recent changes drives him crazy. What should he do? It seems he still doesn't believe. Can you withstand the test next? Then I slowly reached into my backpack and took out a bag of food. After a day of hunger, can you resist the temptation? I immediately said I didn't know what this was. It's a pity to throw away what's left after eating half. Maybe I should save it for next time. Looking at the food in my hand, Diana, who hadn't eaten all day, no longer had the demeanor of a lady. Drooling. I refused to believe any officer can withstand such a test. Then I said, let's cooperate happily. But he was still stubborn. So you don't want it, huh? He then snatched the food away. Meanwhile, two monsters were slaughtering students. They compared posters, which made the goblin angry. You blind fool, we're looking for a green-haired one. This is already the fifth one. The two searched for a man in the icy snow. They had a commission to bring his lawyer back. Unexpectedly, none of the ones they killed were him, which made him very angry. Then he spat on the corpse. At the same time, an eyeball suddenly appeared, startling them. Looking at the corpse, he was speechless. Are these two fools blind? The big guy said it was just a mistake, and asked why kill a student in this godforsaken place. The eyeball said to just follow the clown's orders. No need to know anything else. Now, hurry up and find him. The two monsters were angry at his attitude, but had no choice after being paid. Next, they decided to track by scent. The scent is either from students or instructors. As long as they don't attack the teachers, they think the task should be completed. Besides, those students will eventually become their enemies. So it doesn't matter if they kill a few more. However, the dark mage didn't have high expectations for the creatures because they were just bait, meant to distract others. They were setting up an explosive magic array on the mountaintop at that moment. When completed, everyone would be buried. This is the consequence of provoking a high-level dark sorcerer. A man who is a necromancer, yet uses close combat swordsmanship. Not only can he summon an army of the dead, but the sword in his hand strikes fear into enemy leaders. The stronghold of the last line of defense of the four kingdoms of Grandi is currently under heavy bombardment. Countless magical forces are attacking the defense line. Monsters have enormous destructive power in combat. The axe in his hand swung directly at the soldiers, and the human soldiers were like meat on a chopping block in front of them. In no time, they stormed the walls. Even so, the soldiers were not afraid of life or death. They vowed to block the attack of the monsters. But the monsters' army, with their numbers and massive bodies, held a significant advantage on the battlefield. Immediately, the monsters' mage cast a forbidden spell. A dark purple mist suddenly appeared in the sky. This emboldened the monster soldiers. Commander Flynn felt uneasy. If this continues, the South Gate's collapse is only a matter of time. Their sheer numbers are troublesome. However, the real issue began when the Orc Lord joined the battle. And this Orc Lord is different from before. He's an aura master. This means he can use special skills. In no time, the orcs had captured the castle walls. But the soldiers continued to resist. No matter the outcome, they will protect the castle with their lives. A giant foot stomped down quickly. In one step, it crushed the soldier. At that moment, a blue light burst from a nearby letter of attorney. Immediately, the corpse began to make cracking noises. In a moment, all the nearby corpses slowly rose. The monster was puzzled by this. Even the soldiers were taken aback. All the corpses, whether human or monster, stood up again. Seeing this, the monster swung its large blade. In an instant, the battlefield became chaotic, with frenzied fighting everywhere. Meanwhile, the leader of the monsters also launched an attack, strengthened by spiritual energy. Ordinary soldiers were like ants before him, and thick smoke rose across the battlefield. At the same time, a man slowly approached. He knew that relying on regular soldiers alone would not be enough to defeat him, just as people would expect from a chi master. So, come on, it's your turn now. In no time, a group of high-level undead emerged from the summoning space. At this moment, countless skeleton soldiers surrounded the leader. The leader, who had a chi manifestation, simply swung his axe and shattered them instantly, but then he vaguely sensed something was wrong. In the next second, with a quick movement, he appeared behind him and slashed at the leader's neck. As the leader of the spiritual master sect, he reacted swiftly, dodging the attack with a sidestep. At the same time, the Tiger King charged rapidly towards him. In an instant, it appeared in front of him. then delivered a palm strike to the leader's chest, sending him flying. With a moment's breath, Nia's already concentrated attack swung 2 electric charges directly at the demon. Tiger King and Nia executed a perfect collaboration, using Nia's attack to reach the leader again. The nails constantly gathered strength, then delivered a powerful punch towards him. The monster braced itself to withstand the attack, but was still pushed back several meters, making him realize what it meant to always have someone stronger. Unexpectedly, a necromancer had such excellent swordsmanship. It was puzzling on this battlefield. And the summoned monsters. The big ones had immense destructive power. With just a single strike, a group of monsters was vanquished. The Elf Queen has a petite figure, but her movements are swift like lightning. The monster leader couldn't withstand the attack. With the coordination of 2 undead, the monsters knocked into the air were turned to ash by the Elf Queen's black lightning. Human soldiers could only watch in awe. He single-handedly turned the tide of the battlefield. Although the Empire bans dark magic, he truly has the power to save everyone. The demon leader never expected there would be a lawyer. He stopped and said, "Don't think you can defeat me with just this." Meanwhile, a man's voice interrupted him. "Finally, a usable corpse. You are qualified to become one of my companions." Then quickly charged towards the leader. The sword in his hand swiftly transformed into a bone sword and swung at him. The leader, with spiritual energy embodied, was not weak either. He grabbed the bone sword, and his blade forcefully swung back at me. But the next second, he was suddenly startled. It was only an afterimage. Seeing this, he quickly predicted my move. With a swift backhand swing of his sword, he reacted quickly and drew the weapon at his waist. His strength was incredibly powerful. Just one strike was enough to knock me back. The ground immediately shattered, raising thick smoke. At the same time, I quickly summoned skeleton warriors to hold them off. As the smoke gradually cleared, I saw the skeletal data blocking his large sword. Truly worthy of being a spiritual master. I must become stronger. Immediately, I activated my skill. The skeletons on the ground rose up, covering my entire body. In the blink of an eye, an armored bearer formed by skeletons appeared. Seeing this, the leader did not hesitate in the slightest. Instead, it made him even more excited. "Come on, great warrior who seeks to change the world, entertain me in battle one last time." In an instant, I charged at him with all my strength. I didn't expect a necromancer to have such combat prowess. At this moment, both of us moved like lightning. Sprinting back and forth, with a few leaps we reached the distance. Like a fleeting shadow, it vanished in the blink of an eye. Only the sound of weapons clashing and flashes of sparks remained on the scene. Fight for my own survival, and also for those in this world, who are truly precious to me. Let me continue as Andreas, Helenwell's embodiment, a mage who prefers close combat. This left the undead he summoned completely stunned. Before this, I reached a cooperation agreement with Diana. We agreed to split the 55 points we earn equally. At the moment, we have set many traps on the mountain. When classmates pass by, they will trigger the mechanisms, to ensure no harm comes to other classmates. I can only use the simplest chains. And now we've caught 2 more, and they earn 6 points. Judging by the current point standings, they can be considered a top-tier team. Next, we will head to the next hunting ground. This made Diana very curious. Where exactly did she learn such tracking and capturing skills? Most importantly, she could even move quickly on rugged mountain paths. Clearly, this is not typical behavior for a regular mage. Diana noticed that I seemed like a completely different person. Nothing like the Andreas she used to know. Driven by intense curiosity, she immediately called out to me and said, "Up until now, you've always been a complete scumbag, whether in doing things or in style." Hearing this, I also know her doubts in her heart. As usual, she speaks without beating around the bush. Then I said that if I remained the same as before, I would lose everything. Just like you said, I've always been a complete loser. I never paid attention to anyone, including my sister who loved me, even though she was my only relative, so I wasted over a decade. When I realized this, I decided to make up my mind to save it all. In my efforts, I discovered that I also have some special talents. Immediately, I apologized to Diana, and she said those things were already in the past. So, let's head for the summit. Diana nodded in agreement. Meanwhile, Avi, as a counselor, was watching from afar. She didn't even blink when you killed in Borloric's shadow. Because Angrius was known to be a scumbag, but recently, he has changed for the better. How could someone living like a fool suddenly transform like this just because his heart changed? This puzzled her greatly. What an interesting guy. On the other side, we were heading to the next checkpoint. At the same time, Diana asked how much longer until we reached our destination. Glancing at the map, it looked like about 3 more minutes. According to the rules, we can either seize points from other students or capture marked points on the map to collect. A moment later, I signaled Diana to prepare for battle. Just then, an axe came hurtling towards us. But I vaguely sensed it and quickly pushed Diana away. Damn, in an instant, 2 monsters appeared. 2 more prey arrived. At this moment, they were unusually excited. Finally, someone with a different hair color. Looking at the shape of these 2 monsters, I already guessed their identity. Diana quickly gathered towards me and asked how I was doing. Although I'm fine now, the situation is grim, because I found that some classmates are still alive. Seeing the scene in front of her, Diana was shocked. What exactly had happened? Then the monster's gaze fell on me again, when she took out the commission and double-checked. Green hair, it's you? This left me very puzzled. I've had no prior interaction with any monsters. Then I said, "Do you know me?" "Of course, we came here specifically for you. We've been waiting so long. It seems we need to find a way to deal with Diana." I continued, "If you want me, let the others go. Let's talk somewhere more private, shall we?" Diana suggested we should fight them together. The students on the ground are still alive. Someone needs to take care of them before the supervisor arrives. But Diana was still worried. After all, we were dealing with merciless monsters. Trust me, I have a way to deal with them. Hearing that I was going with them, the monsters clearly didn't believe it. "Do you think we're fools?" Then I walked over to them, and the monsters couldn't help but laugh. This saved them time from fighting. After all, it's easy to attract the teacher's attention here. A moment later, I slowly disappeared from Diana's sight. Will it really be okay? The scene shifts, and we're in a secluded stairwell. This is a good place. If we fight here, no one will notice. At this moment, the monsters are discussing how to cut down my lawyer. Then let's finish quickly and sever ties with that place. After speaking, the tall guy raised the axe and swung it at me. I dodged the attack with a sidestep. At the same time, a goblin charged at me. It quickly swung the knife in its hand, but to me, its speed was like slow motion. Then a shadow fell across my face. I saw the big guy leap up, aiming the axe at my neck. The next second, a flash of a sword streaked through the air. This made the 2 creatures suddenly freeze. How could this happen? The scene shifts, and I cut off the axe in his hand. Then I distance myself from them, which makes them very confused. "Isn't he supposed to be a mage?" Next I said. "Mantis and Gra, right? You'd better drop the prejudice that mages can't use swords." Hearing this, they were suddenly stunned. "How do you know my name?" At that moment, I cast necromancy. "If you tell me who sent you, I'll tell you." They couldn't believe their eyes. 2 undead suddenly appeared in front of them. "Even if you don't want to, you'll soon tell me the truth anyway." At this moment, the monster realized it had been deceived. "Kidwell, you damn guy." Hearing this, I speculated that they might have been sent by a dark wizard. But it's a perfect chance for me to practice. Then I signaled the Hunter Tiger King to stand guard nearby. If they try to escape, they can be killed immediately. The monster also knew it couldn't escape. So I made a final struggle. And I was to use them to combine my combat skills from the army. Then, with one strike, I deflected the attack. At the same time, I used his size to grab his arm and launched a dragon tail whip. The goblin's dagger also thrust towards me. Seeing this, I directly blocked his arm. It hurt him so much he dropped the dagger. Then I grabbed it and said, "Let me teach you how to use it." The goblin suddenly sensed something was wrong. I aimed at his neck and quickly slashed. But the goblin's instinctive reaction was to pull his head back. Immediately after, I signaled the hunter with the blade. On the other side, the big guy's eyes have already been injured by me and he is still constantly wailing. I took advantage of the knife-style attack to find his weakness. After a moment, his attacks slowed down. Now's the time. Then, I swiftly moved to his side. He punched his stomach hard. Then he jumped up and kicked him away. The scene shifted, and he appeared 10 meters away. Then I turned to look at the big guy. At this moment, he didn't expect this to be a mage. It's no exaggeration to say it was a battle. Now I feel my mastery of combat skills is getting better and better. Real combat training is indeed effective. Don't tell me you're already done. Although they haven't had a chance to play yet, this left Nya and Tiger King stunned. Nya felt unsurprised. But the Tiger King, seeing it for the first time, was wide-eyed. This eyeball not only flies, but also causes the user to grow 8 tentacles. Before this, Diana awaited the arrival of her mentor. Several classmates were beyond saving due to severe injuries. Seeing this, she was very worried about Andreas and proposed to the mentor to leave and help more classmates. But the teacher clearly disagreed. Even though he knew Diana was outstanding in the academy, her role in the academy was also crucial. At this moment, cooperation was the best approach. Although she now had a great concept, The opponent was a monster, and several classmates who were better than her had died. Can we really handle this? Diana immediately responded. That's exactly why I can't stand by. Doing so would lead to more casualties. Even if I can't defeat them, I think I can protect myself. Teacher Wen Ci knows his determination, so be careful. We will catch up with you soon. Diana then said she would be careful. Meanwhile, the big guy has already been knocked down by me and lost his combat capability. So I suggest you start telling the truth now. Who sent you? Didn't expect the big guy would still be talking on the brink of death. Anyway, I never planned to let them go, even if they aren't monsters. They've already threatened my safety. Leaving such a hidden danger would clearly be foolish. I quickly signaled to have my sword thrown over. It seems they haven't suffered enough. I still need to find a way to flush out the mastermind. Well, I'll grant you your wish. I have other ways to find out, so there's no need for you to waste your breath. Just as I prepared to draw my sword, Goblin Grayo spoke up. The clown! It was the clown who sent us. Besides, the big guy always treated us like cattle. There's no need for us to risk our lives for them anymore. At the same time, he mentioned that it wasn't just the two of them. There were also some dark mages. I'm also amused. I knew the mastermind behind all of this was definitely Chung, but I didn't expect it to be the Joker. And Salem has clearly warned them not to trouble me afterward. If Jester disregards Salem's threat, it means he's confident he can eliminate me, and do so without Salem noticing. This could be the reason these two are causing such a big commotion. So where are they hiding? Grau says he doesn't know either, because even dark wizards don't want to oppose Raden, so they won't choose to show up. Maybe they want to create a disaster. Bury everyone. It seems like the Joker wants to disguise all of this as an accident to eliminate them, creating an alibi to avoid being hunted by Salem and the Academy. At this moment, Grau wants to leave this place. Do you think you can just leave after killing so many students? Even if I don't kill you, you won't escape this snowy mountain. The scene changes, showing a person slowly walking through the heavy snow. It's Diana. At this moment, she has reached the mountain peak. But there was no sign of Andreas. At that moment, he noticed he stepped on something. When he looked, he found it was a trap array. Damn it, there's an ambush here. The next second, he was attacked. Luckily, he had already activated his shield defense. He also noticed these weren't the people from before. Meanwhile, he questioned who they were. How dare you attack a student from Raden Academy? I want to know what kind of little mouse has broken into our ritual site. It seems you're not an ordinary student. Right. Immediately, Diane readied herself for battle. You set this trap on purpose. In that case, don't blame me for killing you. As he chanted his spell, the mana within him surged rapidly. Soon, a powerful force gathered around him, forming a fierce blizzard. Seeing this, the dark mage leader was shocked. A dual chant? He combined blizzard and ice magic. As he unleashed the skill, countless ice spikes shot out from his hands. The mage, unable to activate his shield in time, was killed instantly. The others had no idea it would have such powerful destructive force. But at the same time, it also took a great toll on Diana. It's surprising that someone so young can control such magic. It's really impressive, but even so, you're still just a little kid. He suddenly grabbed the eyeball next to him, then placed it on his forehead. How interesting. Shall we play a little game? In the next moment, vertical antennae began to grow from his head. Upon seeing this, Diana was shocked as well. This is black magic. In no time, the antennae covered his entire head. Like a monster. On the other side, Ivy also noticed the students killed by the monsters, but they were already not breathing. At this moment, he also heard the roar of a monster in the distance. What the heck is that thing? At this moment, striped tentacles were continuously attacking Diana. Due to the excessive consumption of skills just now, his mana was almost depleted. Meanwhile, other mages took advantage of his distraction to sneak attack from the side, while Diana dealt with the tentacles. Didn't notice the skill beside me. Then took a heavy magic attack. Fortunately, the shield didn't break, but I was knocked back several meters. Handling so many dark mages alone is still too much. At this moment, the tongue speaker is smugly mocking. Wasn't I right? After all, just a brat. Is this your proud capital? Just add an ugly head on top. The words made him very angry. You called me ugly? I'll tear you to pieces, Diana taunted. Threatening me like that only makes you more ridiculous. Octopus monster. But in the next second, his magic was exhausted. Damn it. Is this the end? Game over. Then several giant tentacles attacked him. A wizard without magic is like a lamb to the slaughter, unable to dodge. Unless, of course, they can wield a sword. In this continuous scene, a flash of a sword broke the atmosphere of the scene. A long-haired man wielding a sword rushed in and instantly severed all the tentacles. Everyone was surprised to see this. Diana was also very curious about who I was. I put on the mask I got from Dana, and at this moment, no one could recognize me. I immediately declared that I was a mercenary from Modern Academy, and I would handle what comes next. Now, hurry and leave this place. He didn't doubt my identity. Are you crazy? Are you sure one person can deal with these mad black mages? Their targets are not just you and me. He wants to unleash a blood dream across the entire region. So hurry and notify the other students. I can't summon Nigantama before Diana leaves. The combat power will drop significantly. Hearing this, the octopus man was quite puzzled. Has the plan been exposed? He questioned who I was. Why should I tell these things to a dying person? Ask me again in hell. At this moment, he was furious. You arrogant fool! Several tentacles attacked me. But I didn't feel any fear. Instead, I faced the attack head-on. I quickly swung the sword in my hand, slicing through his tentacles like cutting vegetables. Meanwhile, the rest of the dark mages launched their attacks. In the next second, several attacks came at me relentlessly, and I had no choice but to dodge swiftly. The last attack landed right in front of me, and I quickly parried it with my sword. It pushed me back several meters, kicking up a flurry of snow, but it was a perfect opportunity for me. In the next moment, I vanished, leaving the dark mages in shock. Before they knew it, I had appeared behind them and swiftly cut down several of the mages. Diana's eyes widened. How could his speed be so fast? At the same time, the angry octopus man's eyes gathered an attack. Diana signaled me to be careful from behind. But at this moment, I was too close to him to dodge. The next second, a loud explosion sounded on the scene. The huge waves made Diana unable to see what happened. Did he die? I brought the octopus takoyaki mage. But I didn't expect to be devoured by it. Having gained the host's power, his strength increased several times. Just now, the octopus man conjured a spell. When I realized it, it was too late to dodge. The aura from the skill left Diana unable to direct. The snow was blasted into a huge crater, but my figure was nowhere to be seen. At this moment, the other dark wizards widened their eyes in disbelief at what they saw. Diana was also stunned, wondering when it happened. Following the gazes of the crowd, I saw my sword, piercing straight through its throat, freezing it in place. As blood trickled from its mouth, it became motionless. But at that moment, I noticed the octopus monster's eyes were still moving, staring at me, making strange sounds. I was familiar with the works of dark sorcerers, and this made me even more cautious. A second later, a massive tentacle lunged at me, but luckily, I remained on guard. I quickly raised my sword to block. However, I was still knocked back several meters. Its attack was even stronger than before. Meanwhile, I signaled Diana to quickly retreat. It's dangerous here. The host should already be dead, but the octopus monster still has power. It seems it has taken over the host's body. In the next second, its tentacles reached towards the host's body to absorb magic. In an instant, it became frenzy. After absorbing all the energy, its size increased several times. Seeing this, I was also shocked. The situation is out of control now. Next came the tentacles of the octopus monster, and I leaped up. It grabbed Diana and took her away. The octopus monster went mad, lashing at the surrounding blood. Even the other dark mages were almost hit. I signaled to Diana, telling her that I would go out and hold it off. She should find a chance to escape. So, please seize the moment. Immediately, I charged forward. Although the octopus monster wasn't very strong, it had plenty of tentacles. That was indeed annoying. And at this moment, Diana was still hesitating. I don't know who he is, but he saved my life. Should I really leave him behind and run away? I can only take a gamble. Diana began to gather her magic. Though she had very little left, I still hoped to help. Then she slowly spread her hands, allowing a strong surge of magic to gather in front of her chest. It formed into an ice spike. To make it sharper, Diana kept compressing it. She strengthened the ice spike's lethal power. In no time, the ice pillar in his hand was compressed into a thin sheet, and then he slowly lifted it. Looks like it worked. On the other side, I was fending off the attacks from the octopus monster at that moment. If only I could summon Nighthawk Timur, I could easily defeat it. Damn it! Meanwhile, I noticed a strong surge of magic flowing behind me. When I turned around, why hasn't he left yet? Still just as stubborn as before. Why won't he run? He really doesn't listen to anyone. Seeing me distance myself from the octopus monster, Diana seized the opportunity. Now is the time. A magical attack headed straight for the octopus monster. In the next second, it froze through its body. That must be his last bit of magic power. The scene shifted, and a large part of the octopus monster's body was cut away. At the same time, I noticed its magic core was exposed. I had to seize the opportunity, just as I was about to act. A tentacle swiftly struck at me and knocked me back. That was close. I acted too rashly. These tentacles are really pesky. Unexpectedly, the octopus monster extended several more tentacles. I vaguely sensed that something was wrong. All of its tentacles were reaching toward the black mage behind me. Freeze them in place to pierce through them all. But they never expected this either. They are all pawns of the clown. Seeing this, Diana was also confused. How could he kill his own people? I know he's absorbing magic to restore his body. All the dark wizards were drained in an instant. After absorbing them, his body grew bone spurs. The previous wounds have completely healed. His size became like a small mountain. Damn, now he's hard to deal with. At that moment, an energy enveloped my body. I noticed that even my sword was covered with a shield formed by magic. The sword felt sharper, and my body felt much lighter. When I looked at Diana, he suddenly fell to his knees. At that moment, he exhausted his remaining magic to create a shield for me. I immediately said, "Then don't push yourself anymore. Quickly leave here." Then I jumped up and charged at the octopus monster. With the shield's support, I was much faster. At the same time, bone spurs grew from the monster's body. Seeing this, I felt uneasy. Never expected a ranged attack. The next second, bone spurs shot towards me. I had to stop advancing and quickly swung my sword to block. At this moment, its tentacles also smashed towards me, but due to its enormous size, its speed slowed down. I sidestepped and dodged the attack. Now I must figure out a way to find its core. I charged forward at full speed, right in front of it, aiming at its body. Slashed a deep cut. But in the next second, it healed visibly fast. Damn it! The attack was too shallow. It had no effect at all. Suddenly, the octopus monster's body was sliced in half, frozen in place. Blood sprayed everywhere, covering the blood-soaked ground. This puzzled me greatly. How could it be that someone sheathed their sword at this moment? It was the beef jerk-eating Ivy who then pointed to the masked guy. "Who are you?" A 2.5-meter octopus monster was slain by the woman with a single strike. And now, his attention is entirely focused on me. He's very curious about who is under the mask. Seeing this, I couldn't help but feel uneasy. This guy is much more troublesome than the octopus monster, because he will soon become the youngest Aura Master. Then Ivy said, "If you don't answer me, I will have to kill you and tear off your mask." At that moment, a loud noise came from the mountaintop. The entire mountain began to shake. But for me, this was a good opportunity. Those dark mages had set up a massive explosive magic array. If it's not destroyed immediately, the students here would be in danger. Hearing this, Ivy became nervous because he wasn't sure if it was true. The reaction on the mountain was getting stronger, but the sword showed no response. I quickly noted that it might explode soon. While he was in a daze, I made my escape. "So I'll leave this to you now, you sly guy." But he didn't chase after me. Because if what I said was true, the most important thing now is to solve the problem above. He could only think of finding me later. He rushed toward the mountaintop. Meanwhile, I hid nearby, then removed the mask. Phew, I knew he wouldn't catch up. As for the explosive array, if it's Ivy, I trust she can handle it. Moments later, everything calmed down. The scene shifts to an ancient castle in the Ternara Strait. In front of us are a mermaid and a bird, placed in a summoning array. It turns out to be the Jester, attempting necromancy fusion. Just as he was about to cast the spell, he stopped his actions. He then sighed, because he noticed someone was watching him. "It's courteous to notify me before visiting," Salem then remarked. "I wonder who's really being impolite. Did you underestimate me? If you didn't, you wouldn't do such foolish things." Yet this clown pretended to be oblivious. At that moment, Salem exuded an extremely strong killing intent. His left hand instantly transformed into another form. "Looks like you've lived too long. I don't mind cremating you." Seeing this, Jester couldn't help but feel terrified, because even after several days of fighting, he might still not be able to defeat him. Yet Salem didn't make a move right away. The clown also knew it was likely for that thing. He then immediately asked, "What do you want?" Salem laughed coldly and withdrew his weapon. "Pick up the drink on the table, you know why I'm here. If you insist on saying it was a natural disaster, not caused by me, then you'd already be a corpse by now. Now, lend me your slothful industry for a week. I'll let it slide this time, or you know the consequences." On the other side, we safely returned to the academy. Now the school is abuzz with reports about the attack. The dark wizard Kidwell was defeated by Assistant Professor Ivy Clare. The daughter of the Alvin family was rescued by a mysterious person. The person who arranged this exam was stopped, so Bart is now personally investigating. It seems this has become a big issue. I need to keep a low profile. Just then, a voice interrupted me. Looks like you really like the training field of the Night Academy. I don't understand why I have to travel so far to find a mage. Come with me now, you strange fellow. After a moment, he took me to a training field. A sudden inexplicable nervousness welled up inside me. Could it be that he found out? He immediately indicated to me, you know why I am here. Right. With Aiwei's personality, I can't say anything wrong now. If exposed, he would kill me without hesitation. I can only play dumb now. Then I indicated. I sort of know. At this, Aiwei said, things become much simpler. So, do you have anything to say? To be frank, I'm not ready to start a relationship with the opposite sex. This made Aiwei suddenly furious. You damn guy. Diana told me about those two beast men. How did they disappear? Just like I told the investigation bureau, I managed to escape when they were distracted. Luckily, Diana didn't mention they were after me. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how to explain myself. Avery smiled. You think I'll believe your story? As long as I don't admit it. He can't do anything to me. But it's the truth, if you don't mind. Before I finished speaking, suddenly, his feet exerted force. And the sword in his hand swiftly came back towards my neck. But my body's instincts quickly reacted. Another fierce attack came during the invitation, and a slash was about to strike me. I skillfully drew the sword from my waist and quickly parried. With just one hit, I was knocked back by him. Seeing this, he slightly raised the corner of his mouth. Someone like you, a mage, actually blocked me. A mere assistant professor of the Night Academy. I was stunned. I had just unintentionally blocked his sword. Then Avi remarked. Such an unusual occurrence. Isn't that suspicious? Are you implying that I'm the dark mage? Professor Aiwei. Meanwhile, Weiwei, who was passing by in the distance, felt uneasy upon hearing this. Is Andreas a dark mage? But he didn't quite believe it. It seems reasonable. As long as there's a dark mage case, you're always suspicious. In the Boileric case, you even captured the mage who trapped me. Because Aiwei noticed that the masked man's build was similar to mine. Except the voice was a bit different. This really makes one suspicious. As long as I don't admit, he can't do anything about it. Then I stated. I've already explained everything that happened at the investigation bureau. Then Ivy brought up another suspicious matter. Ever since that midterm exam, Wei Weiyan has changed. What did you do to him? Hiding behind the wall, Wei Weiyan became anxious upon hearing this, because Andreas had always denied saving him before. Unexpectedly, he didn't let this matter go either. Then, I admitted that all I did was save him. That's all. When she heard the news, Wei Weiyan's heart was finally at ease. All the uneasy emotions disappeared. So, it was you who saved Wei Weiyan. I confirmed as much when he thought I was just a mage. When he approached me, I killed him with my sword. I knew then that Andreas was Mr. Fairy. Meanwhile, a voice interrupted him. Away drew his sword, pointing at me. What a ridiculous lie. How could a third-rate student like you freely enter and exit the Black Mage's barrier? At that moment, Vivian broke the tense situation. I can prove that it was Andreas who saved me that day. Even Aiwei didn't expect Vivian to testify for him, as she rarely interacted with others. This time, you're lucky. He then withdrew the sword in his hand. But don't think this is over. I'll be watching you. Andreas slowly left the scene. So at least one thing has been confirmed, Mr. Fairy. The man is originally a wizard. Yet he possesses exceptional swordsmanship. Only because he has a dual-core trait, capable of mastering both magic and sword. After the exam ended, I was on my way home. But at this moment, I felt a bit helpless. Because I didn't expect Salem, one of the strongest figures on the continent, to come looking for me in such a public place. Isn't this a bit hasty? Whence, Salem seems a bit upset. You brat, I'll personally give you extra lessons because you're too weak, and everyone is out to kill you. Alright, let's get started. I'm speechless. He didn't listen to a single word I said just now. You know that the spiritual energy in your dantian and the magic in your heart are basically the same, right? Whence I nodded in agreement. Salem explained to me that due to my dual cores, theoretically, spiritual energy and magic can be converted into each other. And they can be used simultaneously. Because Salem also has dual cores, he developed a special technique. Transference. Under Salem's guidance, I only practiced for 10 minutes. The speed of converting mana to spiritual energy more than doubled. Both the technique and activation are easy. What surprised me was that Salem actually created such a practice. Truly an extraordinary person. Seeing that I had almost mastered it, he said it was time to leave since there were too many people around. Just as he was about to jump off the vehicle, I suddenly thought of a question that had been bothering me for a long time. Do you know about my father and the Cromwell family? Looking at me, Salem hesitated for a moment before saying something he knew about. Cain is also a dark mage. I was stunned. Salem didn't elaborate, as the matter was too complicated. He told me to find the details myself. Then he left, leaving me utterly confused. What puzzled me was that, whether in the game or after coming to this world, I had never realized that Cain was a dark mage. I happened to buy back Cromwell's house. Maybe there will be some answers there. On the other side, at this moment, Amy is organizing things at home. Just then, the butler interrupted her. The butler said, regarding the study left behind by the master, there might be some valuable items left behind. Miss Amy can inspect it first. Vincent then stood up directly. There might be something of my father's left there. Standing at the door reminded him of the past. In this study, he remembered playing hide-and-seek with his brother. They got scolded many times. He couldn't believe more than 10 years had passed in the blink of an eye. As the door slowly opened, what came into view was a chaotic mess of items. After being left unattended, everything was covered in dust. At that moment, something caught his attention. He immediately reached out and picked it up. It's a photo frame. Looking at the photo inside, Amy fell silent. When I got home, Amy had already tidied up the study. When I walked into my father's study, it was as neat as before, and the important items were still in their usual places. This place is just right for working. Just then, my sister took out a family photo from our childhood. Looking at the photo in front of me, it was a strange feeling. I felt nostalgic, yet at the same time, it felt like it belonged to someone else. The moment I touched the photo, suddenly a light appeared before my eyes. Seeing this, both of them felt a bit uneasy. At the same time, there was a violent shaking nearby. I was puzzled as to what it could be. When I went forward to check, I found it was a hidden door. When I touched the photo frame, I must have triggered a magic array, and then the hidden door opened. It would only activate when both of us touched it. That means what's inside might be Cain's legacy. Or more likely his will. I have to go in first to check it out, and since it's hidden so well, there must be something amazing inside. Then I signaled my sister to wait outside, because I didn't know what dangers might be inside. But Amy was still worried. We should go in together. Trust me, I can handle it. As I slowly walked down, I didn't expect the basement to be so big. At this moment, a strange feeling suddenly surged in my heart. It's a cursed item, as it feels the same as my sense of sloth. Then I walked through the dim hallway. A strange tree came into view, and it was surrounded by blooming flowers. As I approached, I realized they were rare elf flowers. At the same time, a window popped up, the Apocalypse Codex, Chapter 6. The Purest Original Sin. This turns out to be the main part of the codex. Why are things I've never seen in the game appearing here? Just then, I noticed a letter on the tree. This should be left by Cain, possibly holding an important clue. I immediately opened it. In an instant, a massive magic circle appeared behind me. As soon as I realized, I found myself in a consciousness space, and the letter in my hand disappeared. I didn't expect that I couldn't detect any of these magic circles. Then a hand was placed on my head. It startled me. Who could it be? Because he had cut his hand with a sword. What's more surprising is that he pressed his bleeding palm against a strange tree. The next moment, the tree burst with strong energy, which then entered his body. It turned out all this was left by his deceased father. Right after I opened the letter Cain left behind, I entered a magic circle. Just when I realized it, I felt a hand stroking my head. At the same time, a memory surged into my mind. Could these be Cain's memories? It seems he really was Morn's apprentice. And under his cultivation, the seed gradually grew over time. This seed emitted a strong magical power. What I didn't expect was that there was also someone from the imperial royal family. Cain's wife died from assassination, and his child is in the hands of the Empire. Before his death, he hid the secret within the formation. So this is everything Cain went through. And I roughly understand the cause of the matter. The Empire and the Dark Sorcerer colluded with each other. As Salem said, the king handed Cain over to Morn and let Cain study dark magic, which led to original sin. But once he completed his mission, he was abandoned. Because he no longer had any value. His wife's death, his mysterious illness, and the decline of his family, Cain quickly realized that all of this was orchestrated by the Empire. So he sought revenge against the Emperor in his own way. He hid the original sin in a place where only Andreas and his sister could gain access. At that moment, a voice interrupted me. You looked closely. Memories left by your father, Andreas? When I looked back, it was Cain. He snorted coldly. Or should I call you often? Then I quickly drew the dagger in my hand. I knew the person in front of me wasn't the real Cain. Who are you really? Truly ashamed, I thought you were a gamer. You would immediately understand all this. Do you remember that call? Thank you for playing our game. Damn it, it's those guys. So you're the ones who brought me to this place. As you thought. So, how is this sinful world? A marvelous fantasy world. Though I'm quite angry now, I have to grit my teeth. So why bring me here? He just wants me to finish this game. For you, it might not be difficult. There are very few people who understand this game as well as you do. Surely you must have seen many times how this world ends. Just like Diana and Lucia. In the end, their fate was determined by the Codex of Weather, leading to the destruction of the world through the eruption of original sin, consuming all the deadly sins and their masters. I question this. Does the world return to peace? No, it does not. As long as the consciousness of original sin exists, the world is destined to come to an end. To stop all this, you must fully control it. But only Cain's own flesh and blood can do it. Meanwhile, a dialogue box appears. The immature original sin requires the heir's blood to seal the pact. As I expected, the original sin sensed your presence. In this world, perhaps you are considered a talentless waste. But only a few can enter this place before the original sin matures. And Andreas, you are one of them. If you don't control it, then 6 months later, once he has his own consciousness, he will break free from here and seek his own host. I've always wondered why I ended up with this lousy role, so this is the reason. Cain hid the original sin. Only Amy and Andreas can access it. So what should I do next? Simple. I want you to make a contract with the original sin and become its master, then feed it with mortal sins. Tame it. I suppose the cost will be high, right? If I fail, as the host, I definitely can't escape the fate of being devoured. This is also inevitable because it's the only way. If you succeed, both you and the world will survive. I'm sorry for bringing you here and making you do this. But for now, we're counting on you. And I fell into deep thought. At that moment, his voice softened. My son, if it's you, I believe you can do it. Please take good care of Amy. Then his afterimage dissipated. Looking at the original sin before me, how should I choose? But it seems there's no other way now. I immediately took off my gloves. I made a cut on my hand with the sword. This story doesn't sound like it's turning into a dragon adventure in another world. I'm not sure if death in the game will vanish in reality. Now, I can only face it calmly. The moment my blood came in contact with the original sin, the next second, it exploded with extremely powerful energy. The 6th chapter of the Tianqi Codex, the purest original sin, exists within the body of the user. At the same time, my magic was enhanced and will continue to grow. As I grow, over time, the magic element will get closer to darkness. The more deadly sins I collect, the stronger my power becomes. The more original sins I gather, the more abilities and functions I unlock. Even though I inexplicably became Andreas, and also entrusted Amy and Cromwell to me, but I will do everything I can to protect them. I will also avenge the tragedy that befell you. The scene shifts to the palace where someone is reporting to the king. Have you found the original sin? Hearing this, he broke into a cold sweat. This person is the intelligence director, Lamar Wilton. Due to Cain's sudden death, it is currently difficult to trace his whereabouts. The king flew into a rage. So you still claim to be the head of intelligence? He suggested checking the Cromwell family's relatives. If they are the ones keeping it, they will definitely bring it out to trade. Although there is only one young Cromwell now. The director repeatedly thanked for sparing his life and resumed surveillance on him. Immediately, the king asked, what about the Westwind sect? Surely, for their summons, they have reserved a deadly sin. Lamar stated that they have discovered some suspicious activities. He believes they will soon gather a large number of people to participate in the Westwind summoning ceremony. Very well, keep a close eye on his movements. As the villain in this game, I need to protect all the characters, because if I want to clear the game, I have to ensure their safety. After dealing with the sin of origin, my attributes have seen a significant boost. I'm worried the sins I absorbed might cause problems. Luckily, nothing has happened so far. Now that I know Cromwell's secret, I'm more worried about loving you. If it weren't for what's about to happen at the academy, I might have stayed to protect you for a while. On the last day of the academy's graduation ceremony, a cult launches a terrorist attack. I don't know how many will perish in their absurd ritual of summoning an evil god. I have to eliminate them before they drag others in because I must do so. If I want to complete the game, I have to protect all playable characters. But I'm not too hopeful, as there might be other remnants of the cult. So I need to investigate. Now there's something more important to do. Then Yes Skeleton walked out from the summoning space. It's been a while since I trained in swordsmanship. At that moment, the original sin art within me suddenly awakened. This gave me a jolt. What's happening now? Then the attribute prompted. The Weather Codex's pure original sin discovered lazy remnants, granting additional features to produce extra abilities, and enhancing basic abilities. Looking at Nia's skeleton made me even more puzzled. Where is the lazy remnant here? In the next instant, a powerful energy surged into my body. The only explanation is that original sin sees Nia's skeleton as the sin of sloth. Could it be due to Nia carrying it for a long time? Moments later, I looked at the attribute panel before me. Original sin and the sin of sloth had fused. So I no longer need the sin from Xiaoshuang. Although Nia's appearance hasn't changed much, his attributes seem to have greatly improved. And he acquired a special skill. Even though there's a time limit, it gives me another means of survival. To celebrate your promotion, how about canceling today's training? You shook your head, but he clearly still enjoys training. The scene shifts to the academy's training ground, which appears unusually quiet. But someone is plotting something in the underground passage. This person is a member of the Zephyr cult. They have now gained control of all the underground passages. They are fully prepared to summon the Demon Lord. The elder commended them, saying if everything goes well, he would introduce him to some pretty girls. And this person is none other than Hazar, who disappeared in the Baron's case. If the girl isn't suitable, see if I am. This really startled Hazar. Currently, the Academy has recruited many people like them. They are willing to dedicate themselves to the Demon King. Meanwhile, he remembered the potential candidate Hazar mentioned earlier. Did you successfully recruit him? That person is Wei Weiyan. Hazar approached him some time ago, but he refused because he found his own path. Elder Wenzi felt a bit regretful. But regardless, today I need to gather information on the cult's movements. I remember there should be cultists here recruiting new members. But after circling around, I didn't see any familiar faces. Just then, I saw Hazal. If the missing person reappeared before the terrorist attack, that would mean they're already taking action. Now I just need to keep an eye on him, then I can find their base. Then I saw him walk into a deserted alley. Looks like they are all in the sewers. Moments later, I sneaked in as well. Unexpectedly, they had planted scouts at the entrance. Fortunately, he hasn't noticed me yet. Next, I executed a perfect takedown. Just as he fell, I caught him instantly. Now I can't make any noise to avoid alerting them. As I expected, Hazar and the others are preparing a terrorist attack. Immediately, I summoned Nye and Tiger King. Then Nye and I charged towards their base. Tiger King is in charge of guarding the entrance. Bringing the explosives in was a challenge. But installing them shouldn't take more than a day. Hazar is scheming when he can rise in the ranks. In the next second, I arrived here. At that moment, he suddenly shouted, "An assassin!" Then the others rushed towards me, but they posed no threat to me. With just a glance from the corner of my eye, everyone instantly lost their momentum. At the same time, Hazal drew his sword and charged at me. He suddenly sensed something was wrong. Was there only one person? As he pondered, Nye charged in with a sword from the side, and he lost consciousness in an instant. Nye's swordsmanship is as impressive as ever. Hazal was taken down before he even had time to react. In just a few breaths, everyone was dealt with. Next, the explosives need to be destroyed. It's time to call back the Tiger King. Just then, the Tiger King flew through the wall. Everyone was thrown aside. Looking at the Tiger King's condition, it seems he encountered a formidable opponent. A gender-ambiguous person was seen holding Hazal's lawyer, shouting, "Damn, when did he show up?" Then he turned to look at me, saying, "You're the one who killed my beloved apprentice." The man simply swung his sword, and was greeted by the purple-haired beauty with her long, black silk-clad legs. She even playfully hit his chest with her fists. The most delightful part was being embraced closely. When the man had dealt with all the heretics, he encountered the mischievous purple-haired beauty who had come to investigate. Andreas instantly sensed trouble. The situation just got worse. It's Piet. Koban, one of the top leaders of the Western Wind cult in the game, possesses power comparable to a master of spiritual energy. I hope you know you're getting yourself into trouble. What's about to happen might sting a bit. So buckle up. At this point, his power might be stronger than Ivy's. Andreas knows that even Negan and Tiger King are at a low evolutionary stage right now, and together they might not be a match. Moreover, they're not suited to deal with Piet because his skills can enhance his body. Ordinary fists and swords cannot harm him. Seeing the undead summoned by Andreas, Piet immediately unleashed his ultimate move. Damn it! I need to think of something fast. Piet didn't give him any chance, charging towards Andreas in the next instant. The Tiger King reacted quickly, stepping in front to block the attack. He swiftly parried it, and the surrounding aura exploded instantly. Meanwhile, Nir was waiting for an opportunity nearby. She kept firing from behind, but didn't hurt him at all. It was as if it struck steel. When Nia looked at the sword in his hand, he didn't expect it to break. Pyatt mocked him. Are you just scratching me? At that moment, another sword light flashed. You could see sparks flying from the swords. With a crisp sound, Andreas was also in disbelief. This is clearly steel. His actions enraged Pyatt. I'm going to get serious now. Then he leaped up and aimed a fierce blow with his head at the Tiger King. As the Tiger King fell, the plane delivered a dragon tail strike. After sending the Tiger King flying, he executed an ejecting start, heading towards Andreas, while Andreas infused magic and spiritual energy into his sword. Just as Pyatt's fist swung down towards him, he used the sword in his hand to alter the trajectory of the fist. The attack landed heavily on the ground, and the sword in his hand broke as a result. Meanwhile, Andreas had also gathered his strength for the move. Now is the time. He aimed at his neck with a slash of his sword, but just as Andreas turned back, Pyatt had already appeared in front of him. Damn it! Then the earth shield quickly rose from the ground, but this level of defense was clearly nothing to Pyatt. In the next moment, the earthen wall shattered, and Pyatt's long legs in black silk heavily struck Andreas's abdomen. In the instant he didn't fall, a huge hand grabbed his head, followed by purple circles, pounding his chest, causing the sand on Andreas's face to fall. Seeing this, Pyatt was overjoyed. Oh my! He really is my type. Just then, Nia and the Tiger King charged at him. But he already sensed it. With just a sidestep, he dodged Nia's slash. Then he leaped up, knocked the Tiger King away while Nia was recovering from his attack. Nia was then hit hard, almost giving him a concussion. Immediately, he pulled Andreas close, hugging him tightly. I need to stick together. The pain spreads throughout the body. It's as if the bones in my whole body are about to be crushed, letting out painful screams. But Pyatt seems to enjoy it very much. Need more sticking together. When the art of original sin senses the host's life in danger, it activates automatically. Do you want to activate the skill of lazy sin industry? I still don't know what risks there are, but I have no choice now. In the next moment, Pyatt notices something is wrong. The surrounding walls start shaking. Even the Tiger King Nijin is momentarily stunned. Meanwhile, he heard a strange sound. When he looked at the ground, he saw all the blood gathering towards him. The next second, the blood flew into the air. Pyatt felt a bizarre energy approaching him. Realizing something was wrong, he propelled himself, increasing his speed by 666% and entered a state of lethargy for 66 seconds. At this moment, he couldn't even be bothered to open his eyes. Just using 2 fingers to unleash the earth shield, Pyatt was shocked. How did his power suddenly increase so much? Pyatt sensed danger approaching, but his arm was severed by the rapidly rising stone fragments. At this moment, Andreas seemed like a demon god. What kind of monster are you? Is this the power of sloth? The Kunyu Tiger King was stunned. The next moment, the flying stones were still heading towards Pyatt. He could only quickly parry and block. But this time, his body was scratched by stones, and he was knocked back several meters. Pyatt was incredulous and mocked him. Is that all you've got? Andreas knew he was affected by laziness. He had to settle it quickly. Come on, cutie, show your full strength. Then Andreas slowly looked up, intending to kill him before laziness affected his emotions. Then it's time to end this. In the next moment, an extremely terrifying power erupted from him. The whole area began to shake violently. At the same time, Bart detected a similar aura. Could it be black magic? The man has dual-core, dual-band capabilities. He can simultaneously harness spiritual energy and magic. But even so, in front of Pyatt, who possesses the power of a spiritual energy grandmaster, he was still slightly inferior. At the critical moment, the original sin within him activated the sloth residual karma. This gave his power a brief boost. As his magic surged, all the surrounding rocks gathered around him. Although his remaining magic power was minimal, he was able to convert spiritual energy into magic power, temporarily compensating for the lack of magic power. Looking at the magic Andreas was casting, Pyatt showed a slight disdain because this was the most basic magic. As the magic power was continuously compressed, the previously irregularly shaped rocks gradually turned into sharp blades. But Pyatt didn't feel the slightest fear. I thought you had a big move. Do you think those pebbles can scratch my body? Facing his sudden attack, Nia moved forward deftly and used the broken sword in his hand. He struck him hard. Although the attack was painless, it stopped Pyatt from advancing, which made him very angry. This ugly skeleton immediately clenched his fist and swung heavily toward Nia. At the moment of the attack's arrival, Nia activated his ghost mode, and the floor was instantly cracked. This was unexpected for Pyatt. He didn't expect a specter to know how to hide. Meanwhile, Andreas kept compressing the flare. This made him vaguely uneasy. Facing the current situation, Piet remained stubborn. You think a few stones can kill us? At that moment, the Tiger King beside him seized his lapse in vigilance. In an instant, he appeared behind him, locked him tightly. After the previous consumption, he couldn't break the Tiger King's grip. Damn! A decisive look flashed in Andreas's eyes as the flare flew from his hand. Seeing the incoming attack, Piet was shocked because he couldn't predict whether the flare would harm him. Compressed fashion like a powerful sword remained still, attacking Piet. He never expected that his invulnerable body would be pierced by a small stone. Meanwhile, Andreas's release skill also came to an end. The side effects of surpassing limits followed. Due to excessive use of power, his body could no longer move, and he couldn't use spiritual energy or magic. Now he only felt his body being torn to pieces. But he still wanted to stand up and deal another blow to Piet. As their magical power was exhausted, Lai and the Tiger King were also forcibly returned to the summoning space. The fierce battlefield just now suddenly became unusually quiet. He could only hear the faint beating of his own heart. Suddenly, a dialogue box appeared, which puzzled him greatly. What is this again to meet the requirements? Discovering an evolvable entity. Andreas Krenwall has a 33% potential for development. There is a divergence in the current evolution. Do you want to evolve? Faced with this situation, Andreas really had no choice. As he fell unconscious, he agreed to evolve. Meanwhile, the Academy's graduation ceremony was proceeding as planned. But in the audience, Bart sensed something unusual. Even though the Academy had anti-dark magic devices in place, he was certain that fleeting sensation just now was definitely the presence of dark magic. Bart then signaled Diana to stay behind. Following the trace, he discovered these strangely dressed individuals. He immediately recognized them as members of the Westwind Order. But why were they in Rodron sewers? It must have something to do with the dark magic he sensed earlier. So Bart immediately decided to check this area. As he moved towards the camera, the aura of black magic grew stronger. The next second, he was stunned by the scene before him. Looking at the marks on the ground and the scattered bodies, a fierce battle had just taken place. Surely, that aura was coming from here. At the same time, Bart smelled a particularly strong sulfur odor. Surely these boxes were filled with gunpowder. If such a large amount of gunpowder exploded under the stadium, this made Bart's neck suddenly go cold because once this gunpowder is ignited, Diana and Carlos would be in mortal danger. Then, someone lying on the ground nearby caught his attention. Because the figure looked very familiar. When he stepped forward to check, he was shocked. It was Andreas. How could he be here? Looking at the bloodstains around him, Bart felt the strongest traces of dark magic here. This suddenly made him think of something. How is this possible? Has he inherited Cain's original sin? Along with the reset of the evolution value, his evolution finally ended, and the dual-core trait evolved into the vessel trait. Then, he gradually woke up from the haze. His memory was still stuck at the moment of choosing to evolve. Did I accept the evolution? Unexpectedly, he was already in the hospital. At that moment, a voice interrupted him. Your injury was so severe that you should have died a long time ago, yet in just 2 weeks, you've almost fully recovered. This gave him a sudden shock. It turned out to be Bart. Then Bart asked, about the sewer incident. Answer me, what exactly were you doing there? Now, things were not looking good. He couldn't let Bart catch any leads. Fortunately, Bart didn't see it with his own eyes. So, as long as I don't admit to it, Bart can't do anything to him. Then Andreas quickly explained. I was walking near the canal when I suddenly saw a group of suspicious people fighting. Unexpectedly, I got caught up in it too. However, Bart was still somewhat suspicious. So where did everyone else go? At the time, I only saw you at the scene. Andreas also knew that Bart wouldn't easily believe what he said. But no matter how many times he asked, my answer was always unclear. So what exactly are you hiding? Just like I said before, I haven't hidden anything. Meanwhile, Bart remembered his father's last words before passing. Even though he knew Andreas had a secret, it was still not the right time to reveal it. He then gave up on the interrogation. Oh well, rather than questioning someone who knows nothing, it would be better to first capture the heretic hiding in the academy, and question them. Andreas couldn't believe how easily he let him go. Just as he was about to leave, Bart called out to Andreas. Don't forget, we bet on your potion research. You have 1 week left. I'm looking forward to your performance. Then he left this place. Andreas probably realized my identity, possibly for some reason. So he chose to let me go. From Salem's previous actions, he doesn't seem to care whether Bart discovers that he's a dark mage. Also, the memories left by Kane include his presence, so he knows about my situation with Kane. At the same time, the door was slowly pushed open. Andreas, long time no see. It's Diana and Carlos. Andreas didn't expect it either. Their brother and sister came to see you. Bart told them and said you were seriously injured. I didn't expect the three of us to reunite here. It reminds me of the old days. Wenzi Jingqing recalls past events. In my past life, I always tried to save others, but ended up failing. But this time I don't think so. Yes, I'm glad to see the three of us together again. Because now I can use my own strength to protect the things that are important to me, leaving all the rare equipment on the ground. He only picked up the unnoticed sugar blade. Because only he knew. This is one of the items in the game, the sealing blade. Galaxy. It has 75% magic penetration. For him, this blade allows him to fully utilize his advantages. After Andreas recovers, it's time to fulfill Bart's bet. And regarding the Shifeng cult, it seems Bart has done a thorough job of controlling the news. Because there's no news about the Shifeng cult's attack. But that's not surprising, considering that external threats have infiltrated the academy. So Bart must be cautious. I suppose I shouldn't worry about this matter anymore. The scene shifts, and Andreas arrives at the mage's tower. Someone is already waiting for his arrival here. Moments later, he appears in Bart's office. Seeing Andreas back to his usual self, Bart feels relieved. Good, let me see the potions you've prepared. Judging by Bart's demeanor, it's as if the underwater incident never happened. This left Andreas puzzled. Was he on the Emperor's side or Kane's? Then Andreas took out a bottle of red potion. Soon after, Bart took a sip. He was very pleased with it, saying, "This is the recovery potion from last time, and you've even removed the side effects." But this wasn't what Andreas was testing. This is the mana recovery potion with no side effects. Both were suddenly shaken by this revelation. Bart hadn't expected he would improve the formula in such a short time, and also invented another potion. Andreas was also very humble. "I owe my achievements to Mr. Bart's support. It seems you won the bet, so I will reward you as promised." Then Bart snapped his fingers lightly. What he didn't expect was that Bart not only knew teleportation magic, but also spells. In the next moment, the two arrived at the wizard's tower treasure vault. And Bart was very generous, letting Andreas pick any item he wanted. Looking at the countless treasures, it was beyond his imagination. Though there were many, he still wanted something suitable for himself. A sensor that could restore magical power, a seedling watch that could store magic. The value of each item here exceeds 10 million. At this moment, the least conspicuous sugar knife caught his attention. It was him. Galaxy, an item I only knew by name in the game. I never thought he would be stored in Bart's warehouse. His passive bonus fits perfectly with Andreas. So naturally, Bart wouldn't let him go. "I want this knife." This puzzled Bart. "You're such a strange person. Why are you interested in something like this?" This was a weapon Bart had accidentally acquired in the dungeon. But after Bart's inspection, it didn't seem to have much value. "So, are you sure you want it?" Andreas affirmed it, saying, "It's fine. This reward is enough for me." "You are indeed stubborn, but in a strange way, just like your father. Even if you could choose something better." Seeing Andreas so determined, Bart said no more. "Don't come crying to me later." He then took out 2 letters. Andreas was curious about their contents. Bart explained. "One is from His Majesty the King, a letter about the Cromwell family's attack. The other is my letter of recommendation. Since you're interested in swords, maybe checking it out could be helpful for you." The scene shifts, and Andreas returns to the dormitory. Looking at the letter from earlier. Fame is just an illusion. What's inside is merely the Emperor's threat, right? I must tell Amy that if he sees any suspicious activity, contact me immediately. I almost got expelled. How annoying. However, this recommendation letter made Andreas very curious. The letter said to go to the marked location on the map and find an old man. With Bart's recommendation letter, he would teach Andreas 2 things. Looking at this map, it seems very familiar. Feels like he's seen it somewhere before. When Andreas came to his senses, he immediately lost interest. He was talking about Dexlan Fawn, one of the top 10 sword masters on the continent. Without a recommendation letter, I might be turned away, but with this, I suppose learning some swordsmanship from him won't be a problem. If I remember correctly, there's also a hidden quest nearby. So before visiting Des Iron, let's check it out first. The scene shifts, and Andreas is on his way there. On the journey, he doesn't forget to practice magic. After the last battle with Piet, his abilities have greatly improved. By combining mana and aura, even basic skills can become stronger. The container's properties eliminate the boundary between the Dantian and the heart. The container's specialization is Salem, a perfect interpretation of transfer skills. The total of aura and mana has been enhanced to the point where switching between the two is no longer necessary. This means Andreas no longer needs to worry about mana issues. Looking at the monster he just hunted, Andreas took its defensive armor. Proper protection is necessary. After all, Mount Croton is the most monster-infested mountain, and that's where Death Salon resides. But before that, I need to find the giant animal hidden in the mountains. Because there, I can get the body of the giant warrior. The man just saw a mosquito, and was so scared that he drew his sword on the spot. Just because the mosquitoes in this world not only suck blood, but are also extremely large in size. Right after Andreas killed the giant beetle, he pulled out its most valuable part. It should fetch a good price. Just as he was about to leave, a noise came from afar. To avoid revealing his identity, Andreas decided to wear a mask. He then found someone lying on the ground. To be precise, it was a beast man. It seems they encountered something and fled here, but now he was unconscious. Andreas then used a healing potion on him. Perhaps he could gather some useful information from him. Because of the Emperor's oppression of different races, they lived in this remote area. Each leopard is a skilled warrior, and they excel in close combat. Andreas was curious. Who forced them to the point of fleeing? Meanwhile, he heard a loud noise from behind. It turned out to be a mosquito, as big as a person, and Andreas was ready to draw his sword. As it came close, he leaped up and slashed it down with his sword. This is the work of dark magic. In the game, only he can control insects. His army of insects is powerful enough to destroy an entire village in half a day. He is on a treasure hunt under Jester's orders, which means there are good things nearby. At that moment, the leopard also regained consciousness. He then learned that someone had attacked their village. The only treasure of the leopard tribe is the moon crystal. Helping them might allow me to get the giant's body faster. Andreas immediately summoned the Nejan Tiger King. Perhaps I can help you. The leopard was still hesitating whether bringing a mysterious person into the village was worth the risk. Andreas noticed his suspicion and immediately said, "If I were your enemy, I wouldn't have helped you from the start." Hearing this, the leopard led him forward. What Andreas didn't expect was that the direction of the leopard's village was exactly towards where the giants were. When he arrived, he found a fierce battle taking place. Meanwhile, he also noticed the cave behind the village. That should be where the giant's body is hidden. But before that, let's help the leopard clear these obstacles. He then activated necromancy. Detected 64 usable corpses nearby, but due to level constraints, only 24 can be mobilized. In the next instant, the dead insects stood up again, blocking in front of the villagers. They then attacked other insects. As the undead insects approached, Andreas triggered a necromantic explosion. This left the nearby leopard stunned. In just a brief moment, they killed most of the insects that had left them helpless. But some still broke through the defenses, charging straight at the villagers. In this moment of despair, a giant warrior stood in front of them. The Tiger King swiftly dealt with the insects with one bite. Seeing this, the remaining insects all attacked the Tiger King. But Tiger King swatted them all away with a single slap. Yes soon joined the battle. The two stood like a wall in front of the insects. The dark magician hiding on the side was scared stiff. He was only here on the clown's orders to collect sins. He didn't expect to encounter such formidable company. Just as he was about to flee, a sharp sword was already piercing through him, and Andreas had long discovered his hiding spot. "Who sent you?" Seeing this, he broke out in a cold sweat, and pleaded quickly, "We are all dark wizards, so you have no reason to attack me." "So was it the Joker who sent you to find the mortal sin?" Upon hearing this, his heart suddenly jolted because no third person knew about this. "Answer my question, or I'll cut off your arm." Then Andreas deduced that the moon crystal guarded by the leopard clan might be a mortal sin. But the old fool didn't respond. But Andreas showed no mercy. One arrow pierced through his chest. "Either you die here, or you tell me everything you know." As the blade slowly pushed in, old Tulu chose to compromise. He admitted Andreas' inference, but it wasn't entirely accurate. Immediately after, he took out a list of their known capital offenses. Andreas grabbed it at once. But he was also quite unfamiliar with what was on it. "I've never seen this in the game, a mysterious treasure from the deep sea. It will be auctioned at the Muriel auction house. That port town is my next destination." Then Andreas took the list, and old Tulu breathed a sigh of relief. Just then, a light streaked past. "Thank you for the valuable information. Andreas doesn't intend to leave any loose ends. There's not much time left until the auction, so before then, I need to settle matters on hand." The man ignored the scattered gems from the West journey. The only thing he noticed was the tattered reality. Because he knew this was the hidden storyline of the game. Within the symbol was buried the last Titan giant. After Andreas killed the dark mage, the bugs he summoned disappeared as well. The leopard tribe leader was very grateful to Andreas. He offered a priceless moon crystal dial in thanks. But Andreas refused it, preferring things more useful than a stone. He is quite interested in this cave. The leopard clan started to become wary. Is he trying to take all the gems? As expected, humans are not to be trusted. At this moment, the chief is deep in thought. Then he agreed to Andreas's request. But the elders under him are not quite convinced. Without this person's help, our village would be destroyed. What do this cave and all its treasures mean? Seeing this, Andreas gestured to them not to worry. I'm not interested in your moon crystal. I just want the person I'm looking for inside. That's all. Moments later, they entered the cave. Afterwards, Andreas walked to a wall. He sensed that the giant was right behind it. But the leopard beside him was puzzled. It was just a wall. However, Andreas said nothing and signaled timer to act. With just one punch, the Tiger King shattered the wall. This made the leopard tribe leader's heart tremble suddenly, because the Tiger King's power was much stronger than their walls. In the next moment, the entire wall collapsed completely. The scene that followed made the leopard's foot drop in shock. Behind the wall were all moon crystals. So this is what you want? Andreas denied his view. I am well aware of the value of these things, but as I said before, I am not interested in these crystals. Then Andreas pointed to the statue behind. The only thing I want is this. This made the few people very puzzled. Could this statue be more valuable than these crystals? Although the leopard clan moved here a long time ago, they never discovered such a large statue hidden here. Meanwhile, Andreas offered to leave all the crystals to them. But only if he could spend some time alone. As the leader of the leopard clan, I want to know the reason. Andreas noticed his concern and reassured him. If I wanted to harm you, I would have acted long ago, but the elder beside me thought it was unwise. However, the team leader stopped him. Because Andreas never used force to seize anything, the leader chose to trust him. You are the first human we trust. Please keep your promise. Then they left. Next, Andreas examined the statue in front of him. From its appearance, the body has been here for some time. Perhaps turning it into a ghoul would be better. In the next moment, he cast a summoning spell, detecting a usable body. But due to his current level, the summoning of the food demon failed. It seems it's not as simple as I thought. But Andreas is determined to get the giant. No matter how long it takes, I will make you my dead. Gaining a slight advantage over time. All summoning attempts ended in failure. Unknowingly, a week has already passed. Should I give up at this stage? But considering that the incitement has been discovered, he cannot guarantee that next time, the Titan will still be here. Now, there are only two choices ahead. Either give it your all, or end up with nothing. So you still need to adjust your mindset. Stand up, my Titan warrior. Just then, the window displayed a successful summon. You have successfully summoned the Titan Devourer. So you also gained an additional bonus, automatic purification of Champion Titan, and also regained some of his former consciousness. Because the giant's level is mythic, he inherited some traits from before his death. Rolyadal Kanyadando, judging from various data, his combat power is extraordinary. After the surface rocks were removed, he headed towards Andreas. And Andreas also became the first necromancer with a giant. With him, I no longer fear army-level enemies. On the other hand, just after Andreas killed the Dark Wizard, his life-bound insect also died along with him. And the clown became aware of this. Although he didn't know who did it, he didn't pay much attention. After all, he had plenty of such insects. At that moment, a crow came to deliver a message. It turned out the emperor had summoned him. He must have heard about the treasure too. The scene shifts to the heart of the mountain. An old man was seen sitting cross-legged in front of the house. He also noticed someone approaching. Did the Empire send you? Seeing this, Andreas no longer hid. He really is just like in the game. Fortunately, he had a recommendation. I came recommended by Duke Alvin. So Bart sent you?